YouTube as well, and then let's get going on whatever the hell is going on here. 07 traffic, much appreciated, my guy. That's crazy good. For just going live on a Monday morning. Yeah, we should be feeling some kind of national pride at the moment due to actually getting through the World Cup, and yet here we are. Like, and this was published like 2 weeks ago, by the way. But anyway, it's a bunch of old fucks afraid that their TV subscription will go away and they won't be able to indoctrinate youngins no more. No. Like, Prince, you're actually 100% correct. You're 100% correct. It's crazy. Even the wording, even their own wording is insane. It's crazy. So, yeah, like I said, I read the first 3 paragraphs and I was like, okay, we need to, like, I like, as a UK-based creator, we're going to go through this whole thing and then I'm probably going to make a video afterwards. But yeah, I'm like, I was so livid. I read this. I read these first 3 paragraphs, and then I read something down here as well. And I was like, this is insane. And I was literally shouting at my monitor. And then I was like, you know what? I should just go live and do this. Hey, YouTube, how's it going? No, I'm not a chicken. Hello. Are you moving? Who, me? No, I'm not moving. We should fight it back. We should fight it back. But before we do so, let's understand what we're pushing back on, okay? We need to fully understand everything. So first things first, the way I heard about this is the way that most YouTube creators heard about this. I actually got this notification yesterday on my YouTube studio, and it told me about these proposed rules here. Now, I didn't necessarily think this was like a huge deal because I was like, oh, okay, like surely if it's a big deal, then, you know, there would be more news about it. It's weird that YouTube is telling us about this directly, though. It is still weird that YouTube is telling us about this directly. So, yeah, your content downrank, pushing this group forwards. So, like, essentially, the proposed rules is a mandatory prominence regime. This could require digital platforms like YouTube to prioritize and give a privileged position to traditional broadcasters like BBC, ITV, and Channel 4 in user interfaces and recommended feeds, potentially pushing your content out of sight. Now, that doesn't just affect UK-based creators, but like if the UK goes ahead with these rules and YouTube allow it to be instated, that could affect literally every creator. The way YouTube is talking about this sounds like I'm not in favor of it. Exactly. So, like, and there's a small part of me that's like, well, I cover, like, video games, right? So what difference does this really make to me? Because, like, how much is traditional news outlets going to be covering video games? But then I guess the follow-up question to that is, like, well, if traditional news media is getting pushed to prominence, then maybe that content that's individually made by small creators about, you know, niche topics like video games or gacha games or whatever it might be, literally just there's no space for it anymore. Read Jamie's message, please. Very important. Make sure you have the politics tags or whatever it's called on the streams. Conversations that let you get feisty and you risk a ban without it. How do I do that, Jamie? Average like political commentator. Look, I'm not a political commentator. How do I put it on, Jamie? How do I put it on? Is that on Twitch? Will you upload the VOD on YouTube? Yeah, we're live on YouTube right now. So the VOD will go on YouTube. YouTube. With how large YouTube thumbnails are on YouTube homepage, this would be awful. Yeah, exactly. So like your top 8 that you see might all just be traditional news media. Anyway, it's crazy. It's one of the stream tags, like English, casual, and whatever. Oh, hang on. Yeah, I think I can see my stream tags in here. I've never done it. I've literally never touched it. There you go. Politics. Done. I've done it. Why would I like to see news that isn't for me on YouTube? Well, this is the problem, right? So if this change goes through, it would, like, as YouTube is saying, it would mean that YouTube would have to look. Mandatory changes how content is discovered on YouTube, direct audiences away from your channel. So like individual creators, and it would prioritize traditional broadcasters, meaning that, yeah, the algorithmic feed that YouTube has would be changed dramatically. Not necessarily just for like UK-based creators, though. I mean, UK-based creators will probably happen to it more because of like, you know, like the regulations are coming in from the UK. But I mean, this might just happen to all of it, which is crazy. Going to require a TV license for YouTube if this goes through. I know, that's crazy. Anyway, so this is how I heard about it. But then, like I said, so I started reading this stuff here, and yeah, I found myself literally shouting at my monitor, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go live. We'll go through it, and then maybe at the end we'll make a video. I was thinking about, and I said this on stream yesterday, I was thinking about creating a second channel for more gaming industry news and like, and you know, just more random stuff than just gacha games. But I think the right thing to do is to, even if I was going to make a second channel, is to do this on my main channel because, yeah, like this is something that should be talked about on the biggest platform that we have. They should add a single category for news that can be disassembled. Yeah. At least you have people listening to you shout in the mornings about it. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, right, let's go. Why are you awake right now, bro? It's a good question. It's actually like 10 a.m. for me, by the way. Like, this is like normal waking hours for me. If something like this actually happens, it can encourage other countries to try and do the same. Exactly, yeah. And then what happens to independent news sources from America? You know, like when you get like Fox News shoved down your throat. Like, I don't know, man. This doesn't seem like a good idea. Anyway, let's actually go through the documentation. Let's start with the ministerial foreword. Like many of us, evenings in my home growing up were often spent gathered around the living room TV set. Whether that was the whole family glued to the Generation game or Noel's house party on a Saturday night or cheering on Scotland in the football. Basically, I miss the old days. I miss the old days. The old days were good, where we used to watch telly together. And now everyone gets exactly what they want curated into their feeds. Jesus Christ. Our media is a central part of our civic realm. High-quality television programs like culturally relevant drama and comedy provide common references and help shape attitudes to social issues. So the BBC is worried it's becoming less culturally relevant. Big whoop. Trustworthy news, subject to rigorous editorial standards, provides the shared understanding and facts needed for people to trust one another. The broadcast of national moments such as Olympic Games or international sporting fixtures bring the nation together for shared experiences. And that still happens for the people who want it. I don't know, man. Like, this sounds like, yeah, this sounds like a you problem. Absolutely. However, these benefits are under pressure in today's media environment where a limited selection of broadcast channels has given way to an explosion of seemingly unlimited content, which is awesome, accessed primarily via the internet. The digital age has seen audiences move away from traditional linear broadcasting and into the online world where, rather than watching together, we are encouraged to consume content in individually curated feeds, and divisive and inaccurate narratives are more likely to thrive. So individually curated feeds are fantastic because it means you're getting the content that you want. Like, the individual who watches the particular type of content about gacha games or whatever gets more content fed to them about gacha games. And the individuals who watch, I don't know, like Olympics highlights get more Olympics highlights. This is a good thing. Everyone gets more of what they want. I can understand this from an inaccurate narratives perspective, but like, this is not the way to go about it. I'm never going to mock the Aussies again. Apologies to you all. Yeah. UK government should consider making their own app instead of using YouTube. 100%. 100%. Yeah, like, this is the wrong way to go about this, surely. This green paper sets out new strategic direction for the government's media policy to address these challenges. The interventions we are consulting on will foster a healthy information environment where trustworthy news is easy to find. Okay, yeah, but then this creates a problem as well, because who watches the watchers? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do we know that the BBC or ITV or, you know, if this goes global and, you know, like, it also affects America as well, like Fox News and stuff, how do we know that that is trustworthy news? Do you know what I'm saying? I'd rather have no algo YouTube than just their app. Yeah, I also agree with that. I 100% agree with that. Trustworthy news is an oxymoron. Exactly. And especially, like, okay, so, like, if this was to go through, does this mean, like, I know that the BBC is meant to be, like, unbiased, but it still has things like opinion pieces and stuff. Like, would all of that just disappear? Like, would no one be able to share their own opinion? Like, even if you're in traditional media broadcast in the UK, like, you just wouldn't be able to share any opinion on anything. I don't know, man. This is crazy. inaccurate narrative is not an objective thing. It's whatever narrative they want to push. Exactly. It's so confusing. Like this whole thing is so confusing. Anyway, we need to go through it. Let's go through the documentation, because then if I end up making a video on this, I can say that I read the whole thing and you guys were with me the whole way. Ensure audiences continue to enjoy universal access to trusted and high quality television content and benefit from our modern digital society more broadly. Okay, right? Okay, so all right. They want to push their own stuff. Support our public service media providers who sit at the heart of the domestic TV industry in ecosystem, driving growth and inward investment. So basically, less people are paying for licensing fees, and they're worried about that. The BBC's own users mind, they're not trustworthy. Yeah, whether they are or they aren't, like, even if they're trying to be impartial, like, there's some still level of, like, humanity to it, you know? When's the next prime minister? Dude, like, hasn't Starmer been ousted? Like, why is this happening? Taken together, this work will ensure our media continues to play its vitally important roles in entertaining, educating, serving democracy, and supporting social cohesion in the UK while putting audiences first. Okay, yeah, it's really weird, though, that the first thing that they say is entertaining. Like, and this is literally what, like, individual algorithmic feeds are supposed to do. Individual algorithmic feeds are meant to be the things that you want to watch, like, whether they are, you know, actually useful for you or not, whether it's just, like, slop or whatever it might be. Like, it's so interesting that yeah, I don't know, man. Like, the whole idea of entertainment is like, well, we have that covered, right? We have that covered. Starmer's the PM until September, and new guy is keen on keeping the reforms. Fucking hell. They're making China look good. And you're actually very politically sound. Now I have to like you. Yo, thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm thinking about making a second channel, but yeah, again, like, this was probably the wrong content. If I was going to post on a second channel for the first time, we should use the bigger platform to discuss, like, important stuff. Okay, so the thing that I read that actually made me explode, we're going to get there in a minute. Don't worry. We'll get there. At its best, so this is the summary of, like, what they want to do. Our media provides the basis of a cohesive country and a healthy democracy. It has the power to advance shared understanding, shared facts, and shared experiences, which help people build trust, which help people trust and understand one another. It is this common ground on which a country is built. However, like so many of our other civic spaces, it is facing fundamental challenges which are putting these benefits at risk. Really? What is the fundamental challenge? Television is undergoing a profound and rapid transformation. No, it's dying. Television is dying because people can access what they want when they want it. Like, I don't... And that's a good thing. Having moved from a system of limited broadcast channels to an environment of content everywhere, where the largest players are global streaming services, video sharing platforms, and social media companies. Yes, this is the direction that the world is moving. Our domestic broadcasters, including our public service media, are fighting to be seen and heard in an increasingly competitive and fragmented market, as they should be. As they should be. Like, they should be fighting to be seen and heard in an increasingly competitive and fragmented market. Like, do you want, if you want the BBC channel to succeed on YouTube, then the BBC channel has to make content that people are interested in, not just content that people watch because it's the only thing that's available. This isn't a right or left thing, it's just propaganda. Also, government is almost as right-wing as the USA's. Yeah, well, it's not far away. Anyway, like, that is flipping insane to me. People are increasingly accessing news online rather than through more regulated spaces like Freeview on their TV sets. Okay, Boomer. Jesus Christ. Fucking hell. This is shockingly authoritarian. It actually is.
Oh, okay. Rock, paper, scissors.
Ollie, thank you for the sub. Much appreciated. For the 10 months. 07, thank you. Okay. This is weakening the ability of this is actually that's crazy. That's crazy. Like what we're not allowed to we're not allowed to access unregulated news. Like if something happens to someone and they post it on social media with like video evidence of it happening, I don't see that as a problem. I know like in the current like like setting, we also have to be aware of things like AI, but like this is like it's scary. This is weakening the ability of trustworthy news providers to reach audiences and shape informed public debate. Okay, we need to keep moving, or else if we pick apart every line, we're not going to get all the way through it. Okay, man, maybe we shouldn't have left the EU. Real. The BBC has been spewing propaganda and been so woke people don't care about it anymore. Yeah, it's trying very hard. It is trying very hard. Anyway, we're navigating a storm, but we have a strategy to address these challenges. One not designed to stop change, but to put technology in our service, not us in its. This green paper is part of that strategy that sets out an ambitious plan to ensure the media, and television in particular, can continue to play its vitally important role in our society and our democracy by ensuring high-quality UK content and trustworthy news remains accessible and sustainable for the next generation. Okay, yeah, like, I mean, that's a summary. Like, I mean, again, we can't pick apart every line, but this is all insane. The constraints that once defined television, finite spectrum requiring licensing and strict content standards, are being removed by technology. Great. That is excellent. This is technology moving society forward, allowing us to communicate more openly with each other without needing interference from a trustworthy news source. Fuck me. Today's audiences have access to a near infinite amount of content and are shifting away from traditional live TV because it sucks. You need to make better TV if you want people to watch it. This is particularly true for younger viewers. Oh well. This digital shift is blurring the lines. Oh my god, I'm so salty. I'm so salty. If YouTube folded and allowed this, I guess we'll be transferring to different sites. Yeah, maybe. Actually, genuinely, maybe. You have a reason to be salty? I know. Anyway, like I'm trying not to stop on every single line. Anyway, digital shift is blurring the lines between traditional regulated TV online content. Platforms like YouTube are increasingly hosting high quality TV-like programs. Exactly. Like they're like individuals are making really good, well-made content. Crucially, global technology platforms now often controls the algorithms that decide what content people see. Yeah, and it feeds them the content that they actually do want to see. These algorithms typically prioritize engagement over value, risking filter bubbles that erode the shared cultural experiences once provided by broadcasting. Oh, you know, like watching The Generation Game or Noel's House Party on a Saturday night. Shut the fuck up. Okay, right. I'm too salty. Like, we need to, yep, okay, cool. This environment puts significant financial strain on our domestic public service media providers, the BBC, ITV, blah, 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 blah. Their advertising and license fee revenues are declining while competition for high-end content is intense. Oh my fucking god. They literally just said it. What is this? Yeah. I'll post the link to the thing. Oh, I can't post it on YouTube. It's too long. If I can post it on Twitch. The link's on Twitch. I posted it on Twitch. I can't post it on YouTube. The link is too long. But if you search for, hang on, I've got that highlighted so I know where I are. If you search for "Watch This Space: A New Strategic Direction for UK Media," you'll be brought to this page. Okay. Yeah, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, we can't compete. So yeah, their advertising and license fee revenues are declining while competition for high-end content is intense. Then make better content. What the fuck are you doing? Short link. Thank you, Jamie. I will share that on YouTube chat. There's a short link that I've just put on YouTube chat. There you go. Use radio function for you to modify the algorithm into news only. Exactly. And people aren't using it because they don't want it. This feels like so anti like free speech. It's actually insane. That should be where the news goes, not just shove it in my face. Exactly, yeah. Just put it under the news tab. Anyway, let's that is actually insane. Okay, I think they're going to continue going on about it. While our domestic production sector is globally successful, it faces pressure from rising costs and challenges retaining intellectual property, shifting commercial value overseas. We must support the sector to diversify funding, retain IP, and ensure PSM continues to champion high-quality, distinctive UK content that drives economic growth across the nation and regions. Yet you need to make better content. You need to make things that people actually want to watch. And you can do that legitimately. Like, you're just making shit and being like, why isn't this working? We could spend our time investing in the content on our public media service providers, but that sounds expensive. So instead, we're going to bring out about the collapse of free speech on a rapid scale. Exactly. What is happening? Okay. In 2024 to 25, video sharing platforms and streaming services accounted for 74% of video time for audiences ages 16 to 24 and 69% nice for the 25 to 34s. YouTube is now the most watched service for children aged 4 to 15, accounting for 28% of video viewing for this age group. Okay, that's fine. Like, what is the problem with kids watching? I mean, you know, Minecraft videos, they are slop. You know, like, they shouldn't consume all slop, but it's okay for them to watch a few Minecraft videos. Let's not turn this into something that it's not. More than half of UK adults now include social media as one of the ways that they get their news. And that's fine. People who watch news on PSN providers are more likely to be politically active, well-informed, and trusting of institutions. That's a terrible thing. Exactly. That is awful. That's really bad. The people who watch the BBC are more likely to trust the UK government. So... That's wild. They are because they don't know any better. Exactly. Ministry of Truth type shit. This is crazy. I can't believe we actually live in this world. I'm an atheist, but I think I'm going to pray for you guys. Thanks, man. Appreciate it, dude. Again, mass exodus, leave? Yeah, we can't. Like, I can't. Like, I have I have a child in school. It's not feasible for me to just up and leave. Okay, right. Yeah, that part. Yeah, that part is... someone in chat said it a minute ago. That part is saying the quiet part out loud. That is literally saying people who watch news on public service media like BBC, ITV, like trusted news source are more likely to trust the UK government and not question things. Questioning everything is healthy. You should question everything. Jesus Christ. Okay, supporting a healthy information environment. The shift to people consuming news online, with half of all news now being accessed through social media, has created a turning point for our democracy. Algorithms that favor attention make it easier for misinformation, polemic, and manipulated material like deepfakes to circulate widely. They're not, like, that's not wrong. That's not wrong. It's not wrong at all. Overall trust in UK news has dropped, and only 45% of adults feel confident judging whether a source is truthful. That's also good. It's healthy to question things. This rise in untrustworthy news and corresponding decline in trust in news pose a risk to the public's ability to access accurate information. I think that, like, if you assume that everyone's a fucking idiot, then yes. But, like, if you assume the best in people and that they can recognize what is trustworthy and what is not trustworthy, I don't think that this should be a problem. To promote an informed and media literate society, we propose 3 interventions. Prominence for trustworthy news. We will explore legislative options to require social media to make news content from PSM providers, PSM, being BBC, ITV, like public service media. So like the trusted news sources, and potentially also national and local news publishers, prominent and easily discoverable. This is crucial for countering misinformation, especially during times of social unrest or crisis. Okay, yeah, but like, what if the UK government fucks up? Like, who is going to report on that? Like, like if they explore legislative options that mean that YouTube like can't show specific types of media, or like has to push like like actual information from real people about what's happening or what has happened to them, and they have to push that down the feed in favor of like actual BBC like news. What does this even mean? This is all assuming the PSM reports the truth. Exactly. Like, it's all based on that. And who even knows what's going on? Anyway, let's carry on. New media literacy for PSM providers. We propose a new duty on PSM providers to develop and report on media literacy strategies, leveraging their high level of public trust and reach to help people critically assess the information that they encounter. This isn't bad. They should do that anyway. They should do that. Why would they not be doing that anyway? It's like saying, I swear I would self-report if I steal something. Yeah. I need money so I could get citizenship elsewhere because it's so cooked. It's worryingly cooked. It is worryingly cooked. But remember, like, as much as this is UK, like if this goes through, like the legislative options to require social media to make content from PSM providers more prominent, that could affect not just like the UK, but like everything. Is this really state-sponsored media amount? Like, I know comparisons to 1984 are tired, but yeah, exactly. Anyway, mainstream TV got angry that young people chose online media over them. Instead of making better content, they decided to force themselves into online media. Exactly. Anyway, if we're gonna make it through this whole thing, we need to keep going. A new joint initiative to promote media literacy. To maximize impact, we will explore mechanisms to support coordinated media literacy efforts across public service media, civil society, and the wider media and tech sectors. Yeah, I mean, why aren't we doing this anyway? We should just do this anyway. Why are we not doing this? Chapter 3. How audience will continue to access high-quality, trusted television content. The UK television market is shifting from traditional broadcast platforms to internet-delivered viewing, IPTV. Okay, we remember what that is. More households are accessing content via internet-connected devices, creating a hybrid landscape that now includes IPTV, digital terrestrial television, satellite and cable, blah, blah, blah. While DTT remains vital for over 4 million homes, its usage is declining, and the cost of maintaining the fixed DTT networks is becoming economically unstable for broadcasters. And so what? So okay, so because we're using it less and we're giving less of a shit about traditional television, they can't afford to continue like making content. And it's like, well, then you need to make more content or make better content or do something. You need to switch it up, not enforce legislation to make YouTube change the way the algorithm works. This is it's completely backwards. Isn't trusting a single source of news the opposite of media literacy? Exactly. Great point. It's about the money again. It is. It is about money. And yeah. The shift to IPTV offers major benefits, including seamless access to more content, greater personalization, and improved accessibility features. The government is committed to maintaining DTT, so that is digital terrestrial television, yeah, until at least the end of 2034. But we're now consulting on a plan for what will come after this. Okay, like who cares? Like if it's unsustainable, then turn it off. To take this forward, we will work with the industry on the support program. We will work with industry and audience groups to design a package of support for audiences to transition their viewing to IPTV services. Remind me again, what's IPTV? Internet delivered viewing. Okay, right. So from like your actual digital viewing to like, you know, like your channels on your TV set to internet delivered viewing. So what? They're going to be utterly shocked when someone makes a Chrome extension within minutes of this going live that blocks PSM channels being shown on YouTube. And I would 100% stand behind that. Anyway, let's carry on. Where were we? IPTV services make the additional benefits right. This package will depend on industry and a strong ecosystem working together to develop and deliver it. PSM providers, platform operators, telecoms operators. So basically, they're saying that they want to deliver through IPTV, so internet delivered services, as opposed to like your actual channels on your TV set, which means that they would use things like YouTube for that. They could also use things like iPlayer and stuff and maybe rebrand it, but yeah, like who cares? Like why does this have anything to do with like the YouTube algorithm? Anyway, bring forward a plan for the managed withdrawal of DTT services. This will be either on expiry or... Okay, so they're bringing forward the expiry of the DTT services because it's that unsustainable. On 31st of December 24, or following a time limit extension to 2044. Any transition would be accompanied by consistent and accessible communications explaining what is changing when and what audiences need to do. Okay, sure, whatever, man. What is IPTV? What is DTT? Yeah, we've already explained that. Okay. Watch them find a way to remove the not interested button or Chrome extensions that remove the PSM crap you don't want to see. Yes. Yeah. Someone said that a minute ago. Yeah. Can we please do that? Yeah. Cable TV being converted into IPTV is an inevitability. Why are they shoehorning that? Yeah. It doesn't feel like it has anything to do with this. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, cool. Future of TV regulation. The market trends we explore in this paper are fundamentally changing the regulatory framework for TV, which was designed for an era of analog broadcasting. Exactly, yeah. So you need to adapt and change with the times and not force or like legislate for for your programming to come up at the top of those algorithmic feeds. That's insane. As audiences increasingly move towards smart TVs, video on demand, and video sharing platforms, a significant regulatory imbalance has emerged between traditional broadcasters who adhere to strict standards around harmful content, impartiality, and protecting younger audiences, and newer, less regulated content providers. This isn't untrue. That like there is less regulatory balance, of course, but like I don't really know. I don't think it really has that much to do with this. They're trying to appeal to the old people that can't get around with the phone. The government never really cares about the newer generation. That's the thing, though, is that, like, if there's a way to push back on this, the newer, younger generations, we need to do so. Because, like, this is exactly what happened with Brexit. Like, again, and I don't want to get too political here. Like, I mean, obviously, we're kind of halfway into political right now, but like I think what happened with Brexit is most of the young voters made the assumption that Brexit would never go through, and then they didn't bother voting, and all of the boomers turned up to vote to say, okay, yeah, we don't want to be in this anymore, and it was a surprise because we didn't expect that many people to turn up to vote. Too bad you're in the weeds, mate. Thanks, man. I was barely too young to vote on Brexit. I voted for Brexit. I voted on Brexit. I voted to stay. Brexit kind of happened because of misinfo. It kind of did. And there were a bunch of things said and a bunch of promises made that never came to fruition. And then Nigel Farage disappeared forever. And now he's back and spreading more lies. Oh my God. Am I a political commentator now? Okay, right. We need to carry on. Furthermore, accessibility features such as subtitles or descriptions of signing are not always available or are of limited quality. Yeah, and what? Okay, right. So if this is true, then the people who want things with subtitles, audio descriptions, and signing will be watching your content. Why is this a bad thing? How Ofcom regulates broadcast media. Okay, let's read this just in case it's relevant. Ofcom has a legislative duty to draw up and enforce a broadcasting code for television and radio to protect audiences from harm. Ofcom has a duty to keep the code under review, but the standards and objectives which underpin it are set out in legislation. The code includes rules like ensuring content that is inappropriate for children is not shown before 9 p.m. Yeah, of course. And that news is reported with due accuracy and due impartiality. Is it the like who watches the watchers, you know? Audiences can complain to Ofcom if they see or hear content on a regulated service which concerns them, and Ofcom has powers to investigate and issue sanctions where appropriate. Between 22 to 25, Ofcom received an average of approximately 56,000 complaints a year. How are they dealing with 56,000 complaints a year correctly? Like that's an insane amount of complaints. How many is that per day? It's like 153 complaints a day. Can't you use VPN and not care about this? That's the point, though, Death Reaper, is that it won't matter. Like, if YouTube's algorithmic feed has to change, it actually doesn't matter if you use a VPN or not. Like, UK news sources will be pushed to prominence in the algorithmic feed. And it may only be a matter of time till, if that legislation goes through, till US news sources realize that they can do the same thing. It also means as well, for UK-based creators, particularly in the news sphere, they'll get absolutely fucked because, like, their channels will be squashed by BBC traditional broadcasters. Their channels will get absolutely squashed. It doesn't matter whether or not the person watching that content is from the UK or not. So, yeah, you could use a VPN, but if you're talking about British politics, for example, like, as a creator, you would get absolutely screwed by, you know, the PSM, public service media, just squashing basically, because if BBC, ITV, Channel 4, they come up at the top and they've got like a bunch of different videos about it, then yeah, what happens to the independent voices? Government suppression? Yeah, exactly. Free speech where? We've seen this play before. Create the problem, completely disenfranchise youth, then promise to fix the issue. Yeah. Now that I think about it, this is so anti-news daddy propaganda. I really hope that the UK doesn't back down. YouTube will just tank it and get banned in the UK because I don't want other governments to see it and follow. Yeah, I think as a creator, honestly, that might actually be the best outcome. And then also, that literally, like, if YouTube blocks this and loses all of its revenue from the UK, that means it would lose its revenue from UK-based creators. But UK-based creators, like, I could just make a new channel and we could upload to, like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's ways and means around that, right? If YouTube just blocks the UK from doing this, and it means that YouTube gets blocked entirely in the UK, there are still VPNs. There are still ways around that. Like, it's not, like, it could actually happen. But then, if that does happen, the public service media will die. Like, this is why they're doing it. Like, we pointed out a bunch of situations earlier. I kind of wish I'd left them highlighted or put them on a notepad or something. But, like, yeah. Hang on, where was it? It was under chapter 1. Here we go. Their advertising and license fees are declining while competition for high-end content is intense. As someone said earlier, this is saying the quiet part out loud. They can't continue to compete with independent news sources. It's not about competition only. They want control over what we see. True. Anyway, where were we? Okay, right, yeah, we just had the Ofcom, but in the longer term, the regulatory framework is likely to need a fundamental reform, okay, so that it reflects a wholly digital environment. Alongside this, the government has pledged to cut the administrative costs of regulation on business by a quarter, making the UK the best place to do business and drive economic growth. It's about money again. Okay. Wait, okay. Maybe we'll come back to that. That seems interesting. As a first step, we will undertake a period of stakeholder engagement. This will consider how best to take forward necessary reform to ensure the regulatory framework for TV continues to protect audiences from harmful content, supports media providers, and allows our creative industries to thrive by reducing red tape and driving growth and innovation across the UK. That's a fucking long sentence, man. That's crazy. Ensure regulatory framework for TV continues to protect audiences from harmful content. I mean, I have no problem with that. Supports media providers. I mean, I have a bit of a problem with that because, like, if they're not making enough to sustain what they are supposed to be doing, then their business is unsustainable. And doing this, like, legislatively is not, it shouldn't fix that and allows our creative industries to thrive. I mean, I have no problem with that, but, like, it's the way we're going about it. This could include a goal to eventually shift away from regulatory system based on how content is delivered to one that focuses on where audiences find and consume TV-like content, ensuring consistent standards and protections regardless of the platform. Shift away from regulatory systems based on how content is delivered. find and consume TV-like content. What do they mean by that? Transfer to Billy. But they say what and what isn't harmful content. Exactly. So if something horrible happens, if there's some kind of protest or something, and then the BBC decides not to report on it because it's harmful content, but actually the reason why those protesters are protesting is like something very important to the UK economy or something, or like UK political issues, like there's like there's no rules. There's no rules. They can just decide what they like, especially if it's like about a political issue that the BBC is trying to like brush under the surface, then that it just gets brushed under the surface forever. Use code GRAPE at checkout. The focus on where audiences find to consume TV-like content, ensuring consistent standards and protections regardless of the platform. Yeah, I don't see that as being a huge problem. I think the problem is like shoving PSM, shoving traditional media down our throats, and I think that's the problem. It's all based on like starting from the wrong point. This new framework must be fair to both businesses and consumers, okay, and be flexible and adaptive to the rapid pace of technological change and evolving business models, ensuring the UK remains a global leader in the creative industries while cutting unnecessary regulatory burdens. Again, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but if the way that we're doing that is by squashing voices of the people in favor of voices of in favor of the voices of trustworthy news sources, it's all starting from the wrong place. This isn't going to happen. They're just doing this to cause a shit show for whoever is after them. It won't get put through, thank God. Where can we go to not approve this or provide feedback about this nonsense? I don't know. I actually was trying to look it up before I went live. I spent like a few minutes trying to be like, how do we feedback on this? And it just kept bringing me back to this page. So if anyone does find a link or something, let us know in chat. Don't just post it straight away. So that mods can permit that you have link, and then we'll click the link and we'll go from there. Spam your MP, maybe. I think there is hang on, we're on chapter 4. Oh my god, there's so much additional stuff. I think at the bottom of this, Jesus Christ, there is like a, is this page useful? So we could provide feedback directly here. We're chapter 4. Okay, cool. All right. No, it is not. I mean, it's kind of useful. 12-hour stream. Let's go. I have to go and do the school run in like 4 hours. Also, I'm probably going to be starving. Anyway, chapter 4: ensuring PSM content remains accessible and relevant to audiences. That is your job. This is your job. This has always been your job to keep it relevant. The problem is that the relevancy has dropped and people are not watching it anymore. And now you're trying to legislate that people have to watch it. Again, this is your... Despite the challenges presented by an increasingly complex and fragmented media landscape, broadcasters are unparalleled in their capacity to bring people together for shared experiences. Even younger audiences for whom an increasing share of their viewing time is spent with streaming services and video sharing platforms. Okay, yeah, sure, that's fine. Yeah, among 16 to 24, 62% of TV set viewing to broadcasters is done with other people, compared to 41% for streamers and 30% for video sharing platforms. Okay. And the 6 broadcasters who provide PSM content in the UK are a vital part of the country's social fabric. Together, they make a wide variety of culturally relevant and democratically impactful content universally available to audiences on a free-to-air basis. This includes a plurality of TV news and current affairs, but also other socially and democratically important programming like children's and educational programs and culturally relevant drama and comedy. In countries with strong and well-funded systems of public service media, societal polarization is lower. Yeah, because people are all just trusting the same news sources. Like, I do understand as well, like there are like governmental schemes in place to make sure that children's content is educational, but ultimately, it's up to the parents, like, what they show their child. Like I don't want to talk too much about being a parent, I guess. But, like, yeah, we prioritized things that were, like, PSM when we were raising our child because, you know, we knew it was always going to be safe. Whereas if you put a YouTube video on, you have no idea what that educational content is going to be. Like there are stringent rules in place for the kind of content that should be shown on CBeebies and stuff. But like ultimately that is still up to the parent. And also, like, what if you're I'm not gonna go. Yesterday, a content creator, Deep Humor, made a video about this and showed a link to, I think, the consultation survey or something. There is consultation questions. You can see I clicked on this earlier because I thought there would be a way to respond to the consultation questions, but I don't think there is a way to respond to the consultation questions right here. But yeah, look, we'll go through the whole thing and then we'll find a link. We'll find a way to feedback on it if we feel like it's appropriate. I think it is appropriate, but like, I'm obviously not saying that you all need to go ahead and do it. But yeah. If he's linked, if Deep Humor has linked the like whatever like feedback, the feedback link, then yeah, we'll grab it from there or whatever. Parents also shouldn't just park their kids in front of YouTube or similar stuff in the first place. Also true. Yeah. Anyway. The current system of public service media. Yeah, audiences in the UK have access to hundreds of TV channels, but only a fraction of these are public service channels. The main are BBC. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay. By virtue of the status as PSM providers, these broadcasts are required to collectively fulfill the public service remit for television, which includes a requirement to produce content that informs, educates, and entertains, content that meets the needs and satisfies the interests of the audience. PSM providers are also required to meet certain quotas for specific content, such as original productions, independent productions, and regional content. Originally, these obligations could only be delivered via the PSM provider's main broadcast channel. The Media Act 24 has enabled PSM providers to deliver these obligations via a wider range of services, including their on-demand program services. Okay, yeah, I feel like this is just side news. It's just information. In exchange for these additional obligations, PSM providers receive specific benefits such as appropriate prominence on TV guides. The Act will also introduce a new prominence regime to provide appropriate prominence for PSM providers' streaming services on designated TV platforms such as smart TVs. Okay, that's also like a little iffy, given viewers are increasingly watching content from PSM providers on demand. This exchange is sometimes referred to as the PSM Compact. I mean, for UK-based smart TVs, I don't think that's a huge deal. That like the first services that are recommended to you to install on your TV are going to be like ITV Player and BBC iPlayer and stuff. I don't think that that's a huge thing, but because like if it's a smart TV, you're going to end up installing all of them anyway. Just imagine TV where every time you switch the channel, it reverts to the BBC first. That's basically what they're legislating. I mean, if that's what it like, I thought this was saying like, oh yeah, when you go to the app page, the BBC and the ITV and the Channel 4 are right there, and then YouTube is like 2 clicks away. But that's still not good. I think the government is freaking out as the TV license is now archaic and is wrapping the other PSM providers into their problem. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong. And the whole thing is actually just so scary. Anyway, let's actually... So that's just context, okay. However, the way that people interact with public service media is changing. Audiences now switch between PSM content provided on broadcast channels in PSM providers' own video on-demand players, clips of PSM providers' content on video sharing platforms, and content that might have been originally consumed, commissioned by PSM providers, but is now available for streaming services. Yeah, and like, why is this a problem? This isn't a problem. This is just a shifting landscape in an all-digital world. And we kind of just have to get used to that. Audiences also increasingly have access to content with distinct public value from a wide range of sources, whether that is original high-end dramas on streaming services like Netflix or balanced and well-researched documentaries on video platforms like YouTube that help people understand the world around them. Yeah, so why, like, so what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Kimani Warren 91, thank you for the follow. As people increasingly consume content online and on social media, often on platforms that prioritize attention over the public value, PSM content becomes less visible to audiences. This is contributing to the financial pressures that our PSM providers are facing, which are making it harder for them to fund the production and distribution of original UK content to all audiences. Then make better content. Why is it hard? Why are we doing this? What are we doing here? So your content isn't good enough to stand up to the content that people are making individually, like as in individuals are making better content and getting more views than you on services like YouTube. Smaller production companies are getting more money from making small dramas on services like Netflix. And yeah, you're worried that the license fees aren't going to continue to cover the cost of the BBC because the license fee is it's an archaic system that's actually just fucking bullshit. What are we doing here? Icy Tams, thank you for the follow. Yeah, let traditional TV end if that's what consumers want. I agree. Yeah. And I think the thing is as well is that like I kind of do agree with the idea of media literacy, but and there being issues with media literacy. But what they need to do is they need to think about this from like they should just be doing that stuff anyway. They should be teaching that stuff in schools. They should be teaching to get multiple sources from multiple places in order to understand what's going on. And then the problem is that like if all of those sources end up saying the same thing, or end up pushing stuff under the rug that should be something that's a prominent news story, particularly political stuff, like what are we even doing? Education is the issue in every country. Yeah, I know, but as part of this, they're throwing in some kind of educational stuff around media literacy, which they should do. They should just be doing that anyway. Like, it doesn't need to be part of this. Except their definition of media literacy is only listen to the BBC. Yeah, that's the thing as well. Is that like there is a part of there's a part of me that thinks like, what if that media literacy training is like, oh, well, the BBC is impartial. You should trust the BBC. The BBC always tells the truth. Like, I mean, obviously, I'm exaggerating a little bit there, but like, what if that education is basically like, oh, yeah, like the BBC will always provide an impartial view of things, and then like, we just need like one like tyrannical government reform, and like. And then the entire industry can then be used to spread propaganda. It's this. Is this real? Is this real? Are we living in this? Yeah, once Labour goes, who's next? This is a good question. Like, anyway, all right, let's carry on. Yeah, who cares about the financial pressures of the PSM providers? Like, if their costs are outstripping their profits, then they need to cut costs. If that means making less content or making content with lower production value, that's what they need to do. They shouldn't just be legislating that it has to be shoved down our throats over and above independent news sources. The government remains strongly committed to the importance of public service media, but we must be alive to the changing ways people interact with media and open to new ways that public service media can change and innovate to stay relevant to audiences. This can include new definitions of public service content and opening up the system to new PSM providers. Okay, so they're open to the idea of adding more public service media. Ofcom's latest review of public service media, Transmission Critical, recognized that as audiences move online, they're watching video content on a larger range of services. That is why Ofcom recommend that PSM content needs to be prominent and discoverable on the third-party platforms to which audiences increasingly turn. They make good content. However, new prominence arrangements alone will not be sufficient to secure the long-term future of public service media in the UK. We therefore also want to consider options for a new model of public service media, one that's less dependent on traditional broadcasters and one that's better set up to harness the public service value being created across our dynamic screen sector by shoving it down our throats without giving us any options. Fuck. Makes me think political class all the same. Labour's giving this power to the next government is so sus. Yeah, I feel like it feels to me like something's being set up. I feel like we're being set up. We're already under a tyrannical government. Labour only won since Reform split the vote. They have no mandate and want to destroy the UK. Whoop. That's me just reading a comment, by the way. That's not the way I think of it. Anyway, let's keep going. Prominence of PSM content in the platform age. So I thought we were on chapter 4. I thought we were almost there. We're not. Ensuring universal access to PSM content is essential both now and in the context of any reforms to the regulation of public service media. Yeah, access by all means. Yeah, like why would we remove access from it? In a content-saturated ecosystem, access is no longer just about infrastructure. It's about discoverability. That is true. This means that PSM content needs to be accessible and appropriately prominent on all platforms and devices people now use to watch TV. Okay, yes, and it will be, because it is a trusted news source and people will just watch it anyway, as long as, you know, it continues to report the news accurately, correctly, and in a timely fashion. The government is open-minded about how this can happen and is therefore seeking views on whether it can be achieved voluntarily, whether all PSM content should be prominent, and on which platforms ought to be in scope. Yeah, but like they're legislating that it has to appear at the top. That's the suggestion here. Open-minded about how this can happen is therefore seeking views on whether it can be achieved voluntarily. So basically, will YouTube just do it for them? Why does the government not care that hundreds of thousands of people are losing their jobs due to changing wants of the wider audience and failing businesses? But when it happens to them, the situation is to physically force us to watch their adverts. Yes. Right, okay. PSM providers are held to higher regulatory standards than other content providers. I mean, that's true, because they have like more regulations and stuff. Historically, the PSM Compact has tried to balance these higher costs with a guarantee that PSM content is sufficiently prominent to audiences. Okay, yeah, because they control their own programming. PSM content includes both core democratically valuable content, such as impartial news, as well as encompassing a broad range of output from high-quality children's programming to landmark entertainment, sport, and cultural events. Well, then why are we having then why are we even discussing this? Like, if you're making good stuff, like, then people will just watch the stuff. I still watch BBC content. We watched the BBC last night. We watched the football on the BBC. Like, anyway. Prominence is not just about the economic sustainability of broadcasters, it is also about the impact on audiences. In a platform environment driven by algorithmic recommendations, media is frequently optimized for engagement rather than public value. I mean, I see the thought process. If it's such a trusted news sources, why aren't people watching it right now? I think it's because of this, right? Like, media frequently optimized for engagement rather than public value. Like, by creating content that deliberately and as someone like I've been a full-time YouTuber now for a few months, and I've done YouTube for like about 2 years, almost 2 years, I think. And like, when you make a video that is contentious, a video that has a little bit of push and pull to it, that is going to have two different voices on either side, that video tends to do better. Which is like, yeah, I understand what they're saying. Like, the media is frequently optimized for engagement rather than public value. Like, when they're just reporting the news and it's not like an inflammatory statement or something, then they end up being pushed down in comparison to someone who's going to, like, an independent news source. Let's say there's like an independent political UK broadcaster who, you know, just has a YouTube channel and stuff, and maybe they stream as well or whatever, and their content will get pushed potentially above the BBC's content on political issues because they make inflammatory comments about it. Like, I understand that. I do understand that. Like, there is nuance here. Like, and I just think that this is the wrong way to go about it. Just search BBC News. People don't want to see negative stuff all the time. That's also true. Yeah. Okay, cool. The risk of this is stark, especially for young people. There's a broad societal consensus that young audiences should have guaranteed access to high quality, safe, and educational content. And they still do, because it's not like PSM is going anywhere. Like, yes, it's moving more digital, but that doesn't mean it's disappearing. Consistent with the government's recent action to protect children online, without robust discoverability for this type of content, whether on dedicated platforms such as YouTube Kids or wider platforms for over 16s, we risk failing our youngest viewers. They do. I just think, like, this is correct. It's just, I think this is the wrong way to go about it. It's more boring when you're just objective about the news. Yeah, true. Exactly. Yeah, you ain't wrong. As set out in Chapter 2, the government will look at options to establish a prominence regime for news on social media platforms. We're also exploring whether PSM content, including news and where relevant children's content, should be more discoverable on video platforms. Okay. Yeah, this is where we start. This is where we start going down the wrong path, I guess. Well, while certain genres like news are a priority, we need to consider whether all PSM content should be covered, so that a wider range of high-quality UK relevant content is made more discoverable. Mm-hmm. We know that PSM providers make up just one part of the UK's vibrant media sector. Global providers, content creators, and independent producers all play a vital role in connecting audiences with entertaining, relevant, and appealing content. However, easily discoverable PSM content plays an especially crucial role in supporting a shared cultural identity and preventing isolation. Without some degree of discoverability or prominence for such shared national moments, we risk a media landscape that is increasingly atomized. I mean, isn't that just the way the world works, though? Like, fragmentation in the viewing of PSM content is not necessarily driven by a decline in the appeal of the programming itself, but by a structural shift in both audience and demographics, or both audience demographics and platform usage. Shifting audience behavior has created a generational cliff edge as younger viewers may seamlessly switch between platforms, and we're starting to see this reflected in the population as a whole. On average, across all devices, viewers spend 51 minutes per day on video sharing platforms and 40 minutes per day on streaming services, compared to just 25 minutes broadcast on demand services. Again, like, they're not wrong about this. Like, PSM content is going to be less interesting. It's going to get pushed down a little bit more in favor of, other stuff, like, like independent broadcasters and stuff. But pushing those independent broadcasts down in favor of neutral PSM content is just, it feels like it's just a silencing of free speech. But why they want to control what the fuck I want to watch? Exactly. Yeah. If they make algorithmic changes to like YouTube to incorporate this, then it affects anyone who keeps up with British news at all, like all of it. I was about to go to bed. Now I'm hearing some ZZ dude yap about these ass laws. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, man. Yeah, I was crashing out at this. I read the first paragraph, a few paragraphs on my own, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go live because this feels like something that we should be talking about. Like, and I might make a video about it. It does feel really bad for all creators, but particularly British creators, if I'm honest. Valid crash out, TBH. Yeah. And to be honest, I think I've calmed down a lot. And now they're getting into their rationale of it. I understand where they're coming from, but it's just the wrong way to do it. And I think PSM content, because of its neutrality, will always have value. Or supposed neutrality, it will always have value. But like individual broadcasters will be able to give you their opinions on things, and then you should just get a few opinions so that you can make your own opinions. Like the PSM content is meant to be impartial, but it doesn't surprise me that it doesn't go as high up the algorithmic feeds on YouTube because it's just news. It's not inflammatory in any way. I don't know if you should make a vid on it on YouTube. Yeah, I don't know, man. Again, it feels like something we should be talking about and pushing back on as a creator. When myself to check the consultation page, and the consultation survey link is below the document links above the email and right to addresses. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute then. Okay, cool. I wouldn't be opposed to them having a bar on the YouTube homepage as a selection of news sources from across the political spectrum. Just don't promote them algorithmically. Yeah, I would agree with that too. But doesn't that already exist on YouTube? Like, isn't that already a thing? Isn't there like a news section? Didn't there used to be a news section? Where the news section at? New to you. That's not what I want. ALG watches Dead by Daylight. I don't. Anyway, okay, let's carry on with where we were. I thought there was like a news section, but maybe I'm wrong. There is top left. Oh. Maybe somewhere. Maybe sometime. I don't know. Anyway, let's carry on. Explore more news. Okay. Where the fuck is explore? Yeah, I started watching this, and then this is when I started looking into it. You're literally looking at it. Am I? Oh, right. I thought I had to click on explore. Okay. Guardian News, Times News, BBC News. Oh. Lower. Okay. We found it. I guess the question mark is like, okay, like, okay, so what if there was just like, what if PSM, or, like public service media, what if they just had their own section? What if they just had their own section? And then people who wanted it can go and use it. Because this does feel like it is some independent news as well. I mean, it's Channel 4. Is The Guardian considered independent? Is The Times considered independent? Anyway. It's already like that. Well, yeah, like I don't understand. Yeah, I don't know what they want. What do they want? They want it to be pushed up in your like general, like they want it to be here. Like if you're interested in politics, or anything that the BBC is talking about, then if the BBC made a video about ZZZ, then they would want their video to come up above anything that any ZZZ creator makes, if that makes sense. I use France 24 most of the time. Cool. Yeah. Anyway, right. Let's go back to, like, we can't get too distracted. Okay, right. Fragmentation of viewing PSM content is not driven by a decline in the appeal of the programming itself, but by a structural shift in both audience demographics and platform usage, shifting audience behavior. Oh yeah, we read that part. Okay. Broadcast television reaches now just 43% of 16 to 24-year-olds on a weekly basis, while video sharing platforms now account for a quarter of TV set usage for under 35s. Well, yeah, because like the way we consume media is changing. If PSM content is not visible on the platforms where key audiences spend their time, the government is concerned the principle of universal access is, and this is fundamentally threatening the future of PSM content. Okay, this is again where they're going about this completely backwards, right? The principle of universal access. Like the principle of universal access is that you can access it. Should you want it, you can find it. Like access, not print. The principle of universal access is not the same as the principle of universal shove it down your throat, Sess. Do you know what I'm saying? Sounds like they're just being greedy and want all the attention while delivering subpar content or even trashy content to viewers. It's not even about the trashiness. Like, they do have regulatory stuff that means that they are supposed to be impartial. But I think, honestly, I feel like the real drive for this is that the current way that PSMs are set up, they don't make enough money anymore. And they don't make enough money anymore because of this. Because people are now watching, not watching traditional broadcast media. Improving the prominence of PSM, no news source is impartial. Yeah, exactly. There's always like a human element behind everything. Exactly. Universal access behind a pay TV license. Yeah, exactly. Also true. Improving the promise of PSM content through partnerships. In recent months, there have been progress in building partnerships. For example, an agreement between BBC and YouTube was announced in January 2026, where we'll see the BBC making content specifically for YouTube, including entertainment, news, and children's content. Okay, great. That's good. You should do that. This partnership debuted in February 26, delivering dedicated coverage of the Winter Olympics. Similarly, YouTube is increasingly being used as a distribution platform that showcases UK talent, with the Brit Awards streamed through ITV's YouTube channel. Great. We want to actively encourage deep partnerships between independent creators and PSM providers, providing the agility and innovation of the creator economy with the scale and curation of public service media. We can already see this model succeeding in a practice. For example, Francis Bourgeois transitioned from YouTube to present the series Mission to Space on Channel 4. Great. There has been undeniable blurring of traditional boundaries between TV, broadcasters, and platforms, which the government seeks to support all elements of. We want any partnerships undertaken to improve prominence to ultimately benefit all parts of the creator ecosystem, creating a fairer, more sustainable market for PSM providers, platforms, and creators alike. Then do more of this. Like, what is stopping you doing more of this? What is stopping you being more prominent with working with channels like YouTube, channels like Netflix? Like what is the problem with this? Like like just do more of this. This is great. You should like if you're worried about the BBC losing relevance, then you should collaborate more. If you're worried about ITV losing relevance, you should collaborate more. Like I don't understand. Like I feel like this is saying that they're trying. They're trying. They might be dinosaurs, but they're trying. They spend too much money hiring people to do fucking nothing. Maybe they do. The government is looking at options to ensure PSM content is prominent, discoverable, and promoted where audiences are watching TV, including with third-party platform user interfaces. Then you should be more prominent on those platforms. You should do more stuff like this, like working together for like big broadcast events, or to help create like children's content that is actually good and educational. Then parents will naturally discover that content. It'll get pushed because it will be on BBC's YouTube channel, and then parents will be able to use the BBC YouTube channel content instead of relying on the programming of CBeebies. Anyway, including within third party. This consultation will allow us to collect views on whether the public feels able to access and view enough PSM content and allow us to gather data from industry about whether current partnerships between PSM providers and platforms are working effectively, okay? The government's strong preference remains for industry-led voluntary agreements to achieve increased prominence in a sustainable and robust way that satisfies all parties. Except I think the individuals are losing out here, I ain't gonna lie. When I get Rami, I'll plan to get the skin. I heard there is going to be a skin, actually, by the way. That's cool. The government specifically notes the constructive dialogue currently taking place between YouTube and PSM providers. Good. We strongly welcome the engagement and commitment demonstrated by all parties today. As this consultation progresses, we urge that these collaborative efforts continue and accelerate a pace to deliver meaningful industry-led agreements. But remember, YouTube is saying this. YouTube is saying this to their creators. YouTube is saying you should push back on this. As a UK creator, this directly impacts your future. Digital content discovery works best when driven by user choice, not legal requirements. This is a vital window for you to share your perspective before the consultation closes on the 31st of August, 2026. Jesus fucking Christ. I think the thing is that YouTube would have no issue working with them on, what was it mentioned earlier, like about the Olympic Games or creating children's programming that is regulated and properly educational. Yeah. We do not view the outcome of this consultation as a zero-sum game between traditional broadcasters, content creators, and other video platforms. PSM providers are the cornerstone of the UK creative economy and invest significantly in skills, talent, and businesses across the whole of the UK. Okay. A thriving public service media sector will have positive spillover effects for the wider creative sector and community of creators they help support. PSM providers and creators also share many common interests. Both groups require stability and predictability regarding how platforms operate and how their income is generated. Both rely on data transparency to understand how they can reliably reach their audiences. The government is clear that any work undertaken in this space should lead to a good outcome for creators too. But pushing them down an algorithmic feed in favor of PSM providers is not good for creators. Like, full stop. Like no matter what else you do, this is not good. To aid consultation responses, we would expect the following principles will be applied in the development and delivery of this work. Audience-led. We recognize the need to balance the prominence of PSM content with users continuing to feel empowered to choose the content they want to see. Thank fuck. Yes, and that should be it's the first thing they mentioned. So I was about to say this should be the first thing they're talking about, but it doesn't feel like it. Do you think that people will be able to just block the news sites and eventually they'll stop popping up? I mean, if they legislate with YouTube that they have to appear at the top, you may be you have the option to hide this channel, for example, don't recommend channel or something like that. You just wouldn't have that. I would assume you just won't have that option. You won't be able to hide the channel. Future-proofing. Any prominence measures will need to be flexible and able to evolve with technology changing business practices. Device neutral. Any measures must be capable of being applied across mobiles, desktops, and connected TVs. Okay. Outcomes-based. Prominence measures should be outcomes-based, giving platforms the flexibility to deliver the objectives in a way that works for their platform. fair commercial terms. We also recognize the need to decide fair commercial terms in an open and transparent way. We're not making it. Yeah, okay. Like, I don't see any problem with this. And again, this first thing, this is good. But the problem is the need to balance prominence of PSM content with users continuing to feel empowered to choose the content they want to see. So this is good, but at the same time, if algorithmic changes are made, that means that PSM comes up towards the top of the list. You know, like if the top of your, if you're like a, if you consume political content on YouTube and the top of your feed is all just PSM content, and it's not like, it's not what you would normally watch. It's not like individual broadcasts who are sharing their opinions and stuff. That's still pretty bad. Like, again, like, I'm glad that this is here, but it feels like this doesn't line up with what else is being said. So first I need a digital ID if I fancy a cheeky tug, and now I'm getting forced to consume mainstream media that I need a TV license for. Can tell they're struggling to remain relevant. Seriously, fuck this shitty island. They don't want anyone doing anything against their ideal, do they? God forbid you make money by creating content. Exactly. Yeah, it's living in the UK is just, yeah, it's getting weirder and weirder. And I think as well, like, this particular, like, if there are like regulations that can be put in place, if there are like legislation that means that YouTube has to comply with this, I mean, for smaller creators, particularly on the political side, they might just not be able to succeed anymore. Yeah, that's the other option, Ado9. Yeah, the other option is that they just don't let the UK do this, and then the UK it just means that if you live in the UK, you need a VPN to access YouTube. The UK will then, the UK government, in theory, then would just block YouTube access, and the PSMs will still die. In addition to ensuring that PSM content is discoverable and prominent on the platforms to which audiences increasingly turn, we must also ensure that PSM content is produced and distributed in a way that is sustainable and future-proofed. Okay. Our public service media is globally admired, delivers significant social, economic, and democratic benefits, and sustained for over a century. Our PSM providers each operate different business models and reach different audiences, but all make distinctive original UK content that fosters community and preserves cultural heritage. Yeah, like, I mean, I'm not against the PSMs continue to exist in any way. Like, and I don't think anyone who's reading this would be against, you know, traditional news outlets in the, like, the BBC and ITV and stuff continuing to exist. But again, it's just the way they're going about it is just so bizarre. You're not being forced, holy fuck. What do you mean, Unruly Shifu? Like, if the top of your feed is dominated by, like, if you watch political content and the top of your feed is dominated by BBC and ITV, you either stop watching YouTube or you have to scroll for a minute to find the content creators you actually like. Yeah, sure, you're not being forced, but like, if you can't hide those channels, if you can't block those channels, eventually, like, eventually those smaller content creators that you may have watched, they just die because you never get to see their content. Like, I don't understand why you're not understanding the problem. Do you understand that? Like, is that insane? Like, that's exactly what's going to happen. Yeah, like, yeah, sure, you still have the choice. You still have the choice whether to watch it or not. But like, if the top of your feed is dominated by PSM content, you kind of don't have the choice. It also means that smaller content creators algorithmically will never get a chance in the algorithm. I'm really Shifu, one of the lowest like you. Yeah, like, let's calm down. No need to insult each other. We're insulting the UK right now, okay? Let's all get on the same page. The UK is stupid. The entire point of a curated algorithm is the content that you want at the top of the feed. Exactly. It feeds you the content that you like. But that's not going to happen anymore because, well, I mean, like this is probably not going to go through, right? But like, should this go through, then you'll end up in this position. So the algorithm would be forced into news and political content instead of what you like? Well, not necessarily, no. But like, if for example, there's like, let's talk about the World Cup, right? If for example there is BBC news coverage of the World Cup, then that BBC news coverage of the World Cup would algorithmically be pushed to the top of your view pile, as opposed to individual commentators who want to talk about how good certain players played and stuff like that. Do you see what I mean? So, like, the individual commentator channels get pushed down while PSM gets pushed up. So it doesn't just have to be about political content. Like, it means that any content that the BBC or ITV or Channel 4 or any of these PSM providers, any content that they cover will be pushed to the top, while individual content creators will be pushed down. There will be an algorithmic... This is suggesting an algorithmic change to the way that YouTube works, and YouTube may have to comply with that. You lose nuance and interest stories in favor of broad traditional news. Yeah, and if I am completely honest, I don't think that this would affect me much in gaming, because traditional broadcast media, PSMs, they don't typically cover gaming at all, and they certainly don't cover gacha games. So there is a part of me that thinks, well, it probably doesn't really affect me and the content that I make almost at all. But yeah, like, again, though, even that risk of there being a crossover in terms of interest. So let's say someone is super interested in, like, look, I got Zenless of Zero, I got music, I got podcast, I got digital cameras and stuff. Like, if I wanted to watch, like, independent information about, like, digital cameras, and I clicked on digital cameras here because I bought a digital camera recently, would there be recent news stories from the BBC about digital cameras and stuff? I don't fucking know, man. I don't know how it will work. There's no BBC ZZZ content. The British Broadcasting Corporation. The British Broadcasting Corporation. Not anything else. Anyway, let's carry on. PSM content must be universally accessible to all corners of society in order to successfully deliver its objectives. I mean, access, not forced. However, the universality of PSM content is at risk in the platform age if its distribution does not reflect the way people watch TV. Our PSM providers have already moved from delivering public service value solely through their broadcasting operations to a wider range of services. Channel 4, for example, has set out an ambition to be a public service streamer by 2030. In 2025, content watched on PSM providers' video-on-demand services accounting for a fifth of their viewing on TV sets. Increasingly, they are also commissioning content specifically for their video-on-demand services and for social media and third-party platforms. Okay, I mean, that's good. Like, they should do that. Like, they should explore other avenues. But the issue here, the universality of PSM content is a risk in the platform age if its distribution does not reflect the way people watch TV. Like, okay, and like, if people are choosing not to watch it, even though it is distributed in the same way as, like, it is distributed in the same way as individual content creators distribute their content, and if it has less reach because the individuals who are making content on YouTube, for example, are naturally gaining more views, that should be, that's the way that works. That's a meritocracy. I don't know. Anyway, as a result, oh my god, we got a graph. Let's fucking go. As a result, it does affect you when you have politics as attack because you'll have lesser reach. Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, I don't regularly talk about politics though. I like, this is the closest I've ever been to that, and honestly, it's because I saw this and I was like crashing out, and then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go live because I feel like I want to go through the whole thing, and I might as well do it while I'm live. Can't wait to see my feed in the next general election, or to tell why I should let them have their way with me. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like when election time comes around. And again, like, even if you're only interested in, like, you only use YouTube for, like, gaming content, and there's nothing to do with politics at all. Like, if you're based in the UK, that means that around election time, you will probably have content that is pushed into your feeds, at the top of your feeds, about political parties. Because it's not algorithmic based anymore. It'll be based on, well, this is what the PSMs will want to show you. Surely they won't let that go through. PSM providers operate in a global market and face increased competition for viewers from streamers and video sharing platforms. As set out in Section 4.1, while PSM providers continue to benefit from prominence for their linear channels and on-demand services, PSM content on third-party platforms must compete for attention in algorithmically driven and individually targeted user feeds. Yeah, so you have to compete for attention. Yeah, raising challenges to its discoverability and its ability to tell positive and unifying national stories. Okay. Yeah, like it's rough out there. PSM providers are under finances are under pressure. Bruh. I specifically go to YouTube so I don't have to see that shit. Yeah, because it's algorithmic, right? So it's going to suggest things to you that it thinks that you like. So if you recently watched a bunch of ZZZ videos, and then like I showed, if you recently watched a bunch of reviews on digital cameras, then it will show you a mix of that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know, man. I came from YouTube. Hey, Zach Squama, how's it going? On YouTube, you can lie your ass off for money, but on BBC, they can't. Your right lie to you. Fox News already got screwed for this. Yeah, like, but they could also just choose not to report certain things. So again, like if there's some kind of political issue that people are upset about in the UK, they could just choose not to report that. And if if all the PSM channels are kind of in agreement that they don't want to report on that because it would damage societal fabric or the government as a whole, then there's going to be a lot of people who just never see that content. Why is it always the UK, man? It's so true. Anyway, yeah, like, and yeah, lying is also like, there are lies of omission, right? And like not covering certain stories might be that are really important to the way the UK works, might be a big deal. Revenues from the TV license fee and linear TV advertising have declined by more than a quarter in real terms since 2016. Good, because it sucks. Like they need to do something different, but that doesn't mean that they need to force it down our throats. As Figure 7 shows, the growth in advertising raising for video on-demand services has failed to compensate for the decline in lost linear revenues, impacting the revenues of PSM providers. Rising costs driven by the need to provide content across linear and online services and investment in expensive high-end content are straining PSM providers' commissioning budgets. And as Figure 8 shows, production of PSM content has reduced year on year since 2022. I'm finishing the sentence, but then we'll talk about it. Thereby risking the democratic and societal benefits we strive towards. So basically, yeah, we spent too money. We spent too much money. We spent too much money. The TV license aren't covering it no more. So yeah, we just want YouTube to just put YouTube. Can you just push it, and then we'll just make money from that? How does that sound? It's a slippery slope because it can lead to a domino effect that goes beyond just politics as well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like we talked about earlier, like the World Cup coverage, right? So like there might be like football commentators or like commentary channels who are individual broadcasters who are relatively popular, who have information about like, you know, who want to share information about the World Cup, their thoughts and feelings on players and how teams are playing and stuff like that. And they might have really good, insightful opinions, but that might all get pushed down if the top of feeds is PSM content. And that means that because that content is getting pushed down, it gets way less views. That content creator who is full-time currently realizes that they can't make enough money. It's not sustainable. They can't do it themselves anymore. And then they end up going back into a full-time workforce instead of continuing to make the content that people care about. Like the people that do care about it, because the people that care about it just end up watching the BBC and ITV stuff because that's the first 10 videos in their feed. That's scary, and that's fucking scary as a content creator. Is this just a bailout for news companies? Honestly, the more I read of it, the more it feels like it. Mainstream football media are notorious crap too? Exactly. Anyway, what is this? Comparison of annual absolute spend for TV spots versus video on demand. Oh, well, that's interesting. What happened in 2020? Why did the TV spots go down? Is COVID? Total TV spots in millions. Oh, it's in millions. Oh my god. Okay, that's a lot. And then the VODs in millions. That is so interesting how that's continued to go up. This one here. PSM content by hours across genres for first-run UK organizations. So it is mostly news. Then we've got, why are they using like the same color for sports and children's? Just saying, but okay. What's that? By hours. Okay. Are we missing half of that? Where's the table? Oh, that's the data from that. Okay, I see. Source, Ofcom broadcasters for communications, blah, 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 blah. We don't need to talk about the source. Okay, cool. This graph builds on figure 5 in chapter 1, using more detailed data available from Ofcom to break down the content hours of first-run PSM organizations into more granular genres and includes additional genres such as news and current affairs. Okay. The balance of obligations and benefits conferred on our PSM providers is known as the PSM Compact. There is a risk that this combination of mounting costs and diminishing benefits will result in a net loss for PSM providers and potentially for it not to be viable for PSM providers to continue or renew their licenses unless we explore a broad range of options to rebalance the compact. Then explore, yeah, okay, explore options, but like, yeah, I don't think this is the way to do it. BBC need money to pay off all the sex scandals and it needs to come from somewhere. Trump wants to sue them, right? Does he? You guys should be scared if the government is willing to change rules for the sake of some companies. Yeah, again, and this doesn't just affect UK creators though. This could affect everything. Like anyone who looks up anything that's like UK based, anything that the BBC or ITV or Channel 4 covers, will be affected. And then on top of that, like this does open the floodgates for PSMs on like the US side to also get involved, meaning that your favorite political commentators will not be as visible on YouTube in favor of Fox News. And that also feels scary. Okay. The government will explore options to reform UK's public service media for television. The current system of public service media regulations limits the options to diversify the mix of providers and means it is heavily reliant on traditional broadcasters. Okay. Moving away from regulating PSM providers through broadcast licenses would give more flexibility as to who the providers are, as well as the nature of the benefits and obligations conferred on them, reflecting the new media environment. Okay. And, for example, it could lead to new requirements for PSM providers to create content specifically for video sharing platforms or social media. Yeah, this feels like a you problem, man. Local TV providers are also facing similar challenges regarding changing audience viewing habits and declining advertising revenues. Of course they are. Like, I mean, who's watching local TV at this point? Like national PSM providers, they are regulated by Ofcom through conditions placed on their broadcast licenses. Any reform to our system of public service media will consider the parallel system of local TV and opportunities. Yeah, okay. Again, this feels like the costs are outstripping like the benefit. Any new regulatory model should result in the creation of more public service content, which has a greater impact on audiences and helps to shape a more democratically engaged and cohesive society. Below, we propose 4 principles of what an updated public service system should deliver. Potential principles of the public service media system. Universality, to ensure that public service content remains universally available, free of charge, reflecting audience behaviors and media consumption habits. Is it free of charge, though? Is it actually free of charge? Improving the content, you've got time for that. We need to protect democracy. Yeah. Like, because, I mean, we have the TV licensing fees, which, I mean, it's not free, is it? And then also, like, in terms of universality, they keep talking about universality and universal access, universally available and stuff like that. But like that doesn't mean it has to algorithmically be pushed over and above content that deserves that algorithmic spot. Public service content, to ensure provision of a wide range of high-quality, distinctive public service content. Yeah, okay, you should be doing that anyway. Systemic sustainability, to ensure the system of public service media has a mix of providers to increase its resilience to deliver public service media objectives in the long term. It should also be sufficiently flexible to adapt to the potential shifts of the current collection of PSM providers and be open to opportunities of mergers, partnerships, and definitions of public service content. That just sounds like Like, that's the way you should be running the business anyway. A sustainable PSM compact to ensure the benefits of PSM providers received are proportionate to the obligations they must deliver for PSM status, so as to be attractive and commercially sustainable. Again, this all feels like it doesn't necessarily have to be connected to the changes that they're trying to make, like, legislatively to the YouTube. We also recognize that PSM providers are part of a diverse market and dynamic mixed ecology that we want to maintain. In particular, a strong independent production system with sustainable production centers across the UK, it's important to ensure the provision of high quality public service content. Well, that's good. Would you forget about all this if your government gives you a 100K monochrome? No, I absolutely would not. If are they getting rid of the TV license then? If no, then not free, as you need one to consume BBC, etc. content. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you could make the argument that ITV and Channel 4 are free, right? Anyway, yeah. If the real concern was public outreach, not money, it would be built into Windows or your browser. Yeah, except I feel like Microsoft would never go for that. I feel like YouTube would never go for this, though. Like, I don't understand, like, legislatively, I don't understand what they can actually do to YouTube to make this happen. Like, I don't know. The BBC has an important role to play here. One of the key objectives of the BBC Charter Review is a BBC that supports the sector and drives opportunity and good jobs across the nations and regions of the UK, which it must do in collaboration with other PSM providers and the wider TV sector. Okay. Any changes to the system of public service media should not come at the cost of wider sector growth. Okay. Like I don't see any issues with this. I don't see this. This is kind of just saying that you want to improve PSM content. It's not. Yeah, it doesn't feel relevant to the suggested changes. Below, we present 3 illustrative models to demonstrate how systemic reform could meet the challenges and objectives laid out in the previous sections. Okay, fine. Let's look at it. Each is a mixed module retaining the BBC's role as our largest PSM provider. The ecosystem around this then helps inform what role the BBC plays and its remit, including how it can leverage its public funding to meaningfully partner and collaborate with other PSM providers. The way the BBC partners with others in the sector, including PSM providers, in a way that strengthens the wider media ecosystem is also being considered through the BBC Charter Review. Okay, let's have a look at the models then. Is there graphs? Are there graphs and charts? No, there aren't. Okay, we're almost at the end though. Okay. I can see people starting to use the dark web at some point. But we shouldn't have to. A model focused on PSM institutions would see institutions such as broadcasters or streamers designated as PSM institutions. Like, in addition to the traditional BBC, ITV, Channel 4, I guess. In this way, public service content would be, as it is today, clearly stated with a defined set of institutions, so audiences would know who they are. In terms of their regulation, they could still be subject to individual public service remits, as well as requirements to contribute to an overall public service remit for television. This approach would be similar to the UK's current regulatory system, and so would preserve many of its strengths. For example, strong institutional public service media ethos among providers. The system would provide for a 2-tier system of full providers and smaller providers or services with corresponding levels of benefits and obligations. This could help support a small number of additional PSM institutions. Okay, so this would create like additional small PSMs that would have to go through a bunch of red tape and regulations in order to be classed as PSMs. And then they would get some kind of algorithmic push if the algorithmic push stuff goes through. What stands the acronym PSM? Public Service Media. So it means the traditional news broadcast stations, BBC, ITV, Channel 4, stuff like that. I should bet like 4 hours ago. I'm gonna head out. Thanks for bringing this up, LG. Fingers crossed it turns out well. Thanks, man. Thanks, Rap Prince. Go to bed. Catch you later, man. Okay, a model focuses on PSM services would allow specific services to receive PSM designation if they were to meet agreed requirements. In this context, services could also range from linear provision, such as an art-focused TV channel, to a high-quality video on-demand service on all channels on video sharing platforms, such as a history or documentary channel on YouTube. Having a wider range of providers could mean it is less clear for audiences seeking public service content to know where to find it. It could, however, increase the likelihood of audiences interacting with public service content, including audiences who have become disengaged with public service media, particularly if algorithms can be leveraged to deliver public service content to audiences on platforms. Regulation could involve obligations and benefits, for example, prominence, being applied to individual services. That's sus. This model could open up the system to a wider range of providers and enable more flexible and dynamic regulation of public service media. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. So, like, how many pages are left? I don't know, man. A lot. A content-centric approach would determine whether something is public service content subject to an agreed definition, which could evolve in line with societal, cultural needs, rather than particular institutional service. The value of public service media could extend to more audiences as people engage with public service content no matter their viewing behaviors, reflecting an environment where content is increasingly served algorithmically. Okay. It could be adaptable to audience and technological shifts, but not reliant on the success of specific organizations. Interesting. Benefits such as funding for and prominence of public service content would be tied directly to the content itself. In practice, countries whose systems of public service media are more content-centric tend to adopt a mixed model whereby a small number of PSM institutions are supported by additional incentives to support the supply of public service content. That sounds better because basically this would give more light to potentially smaller creators, but again, I think this all just stems from the wrong point anyway. It all just stems from the wrong point anyway. Fuck the UK? Real. Okay, the government's ambition for public service media. Despite the transformative changes to how people are consuming media, I need to drink. We believe there's still strong demand and an irrefutable need for public service media. Audiences still value and want access to accurate news and information, informative and entertaining content that reflects the diversity of the UK and brings audiences together. What makes you say that? Is this a link to a document or something? Oh my god, it's fucking huge. Yeah, but I guess the question is how did they get this information? We can look into it in a second, but let me just get my thoughts out first. Like, if they're saying audience still value this, and they're basing this on I don't know, a street interview of, let's face it, probably older generation people, because they did it on a Tuesday afternoon when most of the young people are at work, and they did it on the streets and asked them these questions, and they filled them in on clipboards and stuff, then yeah, it's going to say that. But audiences, as much as they still value and want access to accurate news and stuff, they're not showing that because you can't keep up with the amount. Your costs are outstripping the demand. That's what this whole thing is about. Bruh. Not only is all their research invalid, it's not inventive of any population. Yeah, we can take a look at it in a second. I want to get through all of this, but I'll leave that open and we can come back to it. That's my big question mark is what makes you say this? And also, you're saying this, but at the same time, you're saying, oh, people aren't watching it. Do you know what I'm saying? So, oh, shit. If at the same time, you're also saying, oh, people aren't watching our stuff on, YouTube, so we need to change the algorithm so they watch it. It's well, that audience doesn't want to watch it then. What's accurate to them? Yeah, I mean, again, that's the big question as well. Who watches the watchers? Currently suffering in the minds of Miyabi farming. You got this, man. We want a regulatory system that encourages the creation of more public service content, reversing the trend of recent years, which has seen the output of our PSM providers decline. We also want to make sure that benefits public service media delivers help to address the challenges associated with the modern media ecosystem. As discussed in Section 2.3, this might include adding new obligations to the PSM Compact, such as enhanced responsibilities for media literacy, which are crucial for society in the digital age. Okay, sure. To achieve this, our preferred model of public service media will need to work as part of the final decision that is reached on the future of TV distribution. This is vital both for ensuring that access to PSM content remains universal and that the cost of being a PSM provider are balanced with appropriate benefits. The final approach that the government sets out will need to fully reflect the paradigm shift from broadcasting to content everywhere, as set out in Chapter 1. This change is fundamentally altering how and where PSM providers need to make their content available and where we want to ensure PSM content is accessible and prominent. Okay, interesting. Universal. They keep using that word, but it's not access. It's push. And that's the concerning part. Our ambition is for a system of public service media that thrives and leans into the opportunity of new technologies. Those technologies may lower the cost of distribution or potentially reduce the cost of content creation, while the algorithmic serving of content allows for PSM content to be offered directly to audiences we want to engage. We want to engage. Not necessarily that they want to engage with you, but the ones that you want. Okay. We're supportive of PSM providers developing algorithms in line with public service values, but they strike the right balance between offering audiences personalized services while still ensuring they are exposed to a wide range of PSM content that keeps them informed about the world around them. The BBC Charter Review Green Paper consulted on what further obligations the BBC specifically should have to ensure a broad range of PSM content is promoted within its own platforms. As set out in Section 1.4, we're supportive of strategic partnerships among PSM providers that benefit their financial sustainability and audiences. We would expect the adoption of new technologies to present opportunities for such partnerships with the potential to rationalize costs and increase investment in creating PSM content. We want to encourage innovation that is spearheaded by PSM providers. While this activity will be market-led, we welcome views on how our reforms are PSM. No, it's not market-led. If it was market-led, you would let the algorithms decide. If it was market-led, you wouldn't be pushing it. And if you want to encourage innovation that is spearheaded, like, you shouldn't be so reliant on PSM providers encouraging innovation. Like, it's okay for them to innovate in their own space, but like when it comes to like actual content, like sometimes it's good to have individual broadcasters, and this is just pushing it down. People don't want to watch our shit agenda nowadays, so we need to change this. That's how they thought when they made this rule. Yeah, it's something along that lines. This sounds like censorship without even trying to mask it. At least in Germany, put a bit more creative effort into it. Maybe leaving the EU wasn't that good. Yeah, maybe leaving the EU wasn't that good. Maybe it was a mistake. Death penalty for treason. Isn't it even the point of government-funded media that it doesn't need to make money, so it's harder to corrupt? Yeah, but the problem is that like, okay, so like to boil it down to the central issues of this is, you're right. The point of government-funded media is that it doesn't need to make money and is therefore harder to corrupt. The problem is, though, is that when people are getting their news from YouTube, the problem is that people are only looking for specific types of content, and algorithmically, they are way more likely to click on inflammatory content because it encourages engagement, and they're more likely to leave a comment and a like or a dislike or whatever. They're much more likely to click on like an individual broadcaster as opposed to like a PSM, because the PSM is supposed to be impartial. So the problem that the British government are facing is that the impartial news sources, when it comes to the algorithmic feed of YouTube, are getting pushed down because algorithmically they aren't as attractive to viewers. Now, the way that they're trying to combat this, as opposed to like making better content or trying to pitch themselves in some way as being, you know, like neutral, or, you know, like as opposed to like trying to advertise themselves and get out there or like collaborate with YouTube on specific like live streams and events and stuff like that. Instead of doing that, well, they are doing that, by the way. They did mention it in this paper, which I thought was good. But like, instead of just doubling down and going more into that, what they're doing is they're trying to get YouTube to algorithmically push their content and therefore push down commentary from individual contributors and creators, which means that it like, and this doesn't just pertain to, you know, like politics. As we were talking about earlier, this would also pertain to things like, you know, football or gaming, less so, because traditional PSMs don't really cover gaming as much. But yeah, like, you know, like if we talk about football, like the World Cup is going on at the moment, like individuals who make content about like, oh, this player, you know, whatever, like, you know, like they recap the match and they talk about who played well and who played poorly and what they think the manager should do in the next match. The individuals who make that content, if someone is searching for that kind of World Cup content, they would get served PSM news sources first before being served the actual content that they want. That's a good summary. It's about agenda pushing and control narrative. Yeah, it is. It kind of is. And it's scary. Wonder what AOG's politics are? Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is not really politics. This is more just like, this is an actual threat to the way that content creation works, not just in the UK, but across everywhere. Because if PSM if PSM content gets pushed to the top of algorithmic piles on YouTube, that means that, and they just do it from a UK-based media approach initially, that means that anyone who looks up any kind of UK-based politics will get served neutral, like in theory, neutral information. But that neutral information might work for the government, if that makes sense. Because if there are protests about things that the government are doing wrong in the UK, if you're outside of the UK, you may never know about that because you'll only algorithmically get fed BBC, ITV, and traditional news source media. Yeah, exactly. So, like, even though they can be neutral, if they think it's for the greater good, to not report on certain news stories and stuff, the PSMs can just not report on it, and then outside of the UK, we just never, you guys would just never know what's going on. As well as the fact that outside of the UK, should any of this actually come to pass, like, there's only a matter of time before, you know, like the US news sources, the traditional news media of the US, things like, I don't know what, CNN and Fox News and stuff, they realize that they can do the same thing. Blah, 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 blah. It's not about politics, it's about freedom of speech. Exactly. And YouTube, algorithmically, it works on a meritocracy. Like, the more views you get, the more your content gets pushed. Which, again, like, as I started, like, when I started re-explaining this just now, I understand how that poses a threat to neutral media. Because it's not inflammatory at all. But at the same time, this is the wrong way to go about it. It's censoring while boosting their own agendas. Yeah, it could be used for that, absolutely. And I think in the UK right now, there is political unrest right now, and in polls we have an extremely inflammatory. No, I don't know the best way to say it, but there is a chance that our next government is an entirely new government that will be. They could, in theory, use this to support some kind of authoritarian fascist state. Fuck! and that's the YouTube video. Okay. That's the YouTube video. Yeah, because there's a chance that Reform UK, like in terms of polls, Reform UK are the ones spearheading the send back the boats movement and stuff like that. And it's, yeah, like, again, I don't want to go too deep on the politics of things, but like if there's any political party that would use this for potential not good, it would probably be Reform UK. Yeah. It's scary. It's scary. Anyway, let's go through the consultation questions. I feel like we've been through the content. Let's go through the consultation questions. Reform are probably the most likely party to actually do anything about anything, good or bad. Yeah, yeah. It seems like they want to make moves. Let's just leave it like that. It seems like they want to make moves. And so if this was to go through, that could end up being really bad. If they have some level of control over PSMs, that could be horrendous. Can you guys send me the link to the paper? Yeah, sure. Anyway, let's see what we've got going on here. Big reminder for the Scott Outpost monthly stores. Oh yeah, that was like 6 days ago. Introductory question. The green paper covers topics relating to the future of UK television and media. More specifically, it includes content on current market, audience context, prominence of news. Yeah. We kind of read all this. What are your overall views related to the topics of this green paper? Oh, okay. So there's a way. Is there a way to access these consultation questions so we can feed it back? Okay, let's go through it. Chapter 1 of the Green Paper describes a series of challenges impacting the UK's TV production system, including the spending power of public service media providers is decreasing, which impacts their ability to commission new content. The sector faces rising production costs and inflationary pressure, particularly for high-end content like drama, and make better content. PSM providers are adopting fewer, bigger, and better commissioning strategies, often prioritizing digital-first content, which resulted in fewer commissions for some genres. When global streaming platforms commission directly, they typically retain the IP. This inward investment, while filling production expenditure gaps, risks shifting the residual commercial value offshore, creating a challenge for producers to retain IP and long-term economic value. Screen-based businesses report unmet finance demand and feel underfunded despite a high rate of actively using external finance. What measures do you feel would be most effective for the government to take to overall address these challenges? I mean that's hard, right? Like I guess the short answer is like, well, you need to make better content, but also you probably need to make less content. Like, yeah, fewer, bigger, and better commissioning strategies. Like, I think honestly, you need to double down on this. You also need to collaborate. You need to collaborate externally with like algorithmic feeds, like YouTube and stuff, so that you can have more of a platform on places like YouTube. Is there a way we can answer these questions? We need to be able to access these questions. How often do you encounter news that you feel is untrustworthy when online? Very often. How often do you believe trustworthy news content should be more visible on social media? Yes, but like you've even put it in quotation marks. How trustworthy is it? Do you know what I mean? Uh who decides the content is trustworthy? That's the problem. Yeah, I've said it so many times. Like, but like, who's in charge of this? Should it be more visible on social media? I mean, I, I would have to say yeah. I know we've disagreed with like everything about this, but the problem is that like trustworthy news, yes, but that's not just limited to PSMs. So they're writing these questions in a way that if you say yes to this, they'll be like, oh look, YouTube. Yeah, they want you to push these PSMs. They're not saying like, do you believe that PSM news content should be more visible on social media? They're saying trustworthy news content. I feel like this is like sly as fuck. I ain't gonna lie. How would you like this to look in practice so that audiences can access trustworthy news more easily on social media? I would honestly like better AI detection tools, stuff like that. So like I know YouTube has stuff like that, but like better AI detection tools, and then also, for example, on X, there's like community notes, right? So like also you could get community noted for like content that's like obviously erroneous. The link to the survey on the same consultation page. The document links were available. Okay, we'll get to it in a sec. The link to the survey is on the same consultation page. The document links were available. What, here? Consultation questions. I mean, if we can just answer it now. Oh my god, there's so many fucking questions. Dude, that's a lot of questions. This future of TV No, that's not it. Oh my god, there's still so much. Cost benefit analysis. That's again, like how is that even relevant? When you make a survey, you can formulate the question in a way that it supports your proposed hypothesis, and this is exactly that. It kind of does feel like it, yeah. The gov.uk page? Do I need to Google it? Like the gov.uk green paper consultation questions. Gov.uk green paper consultation. Okay, let's go through I'll find it later. And someone got the link. Yeah, thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jack. Wait, what? Motherfucking ads. Wait, Jack, I clicked the link. Is that it? Am I dumb? Where is it? Okay, let's go through the rest of the questions. But like, yeah, specifically, the question was like pretty bad. How would you like this place to look in practice so the audience can access trustworthy news more easily on social media? Okay. If the government gives prominence to trustworthy providers of news, meaning by making them more visible online, should this prominence be ongoing and always on, or only active during periods of crisis? There are options. Always on, only during periods of heightened vulnerability, and then not sure. So no is not an option. I can just link the survey directly here. Please do. Stir her. Please do. Because then we can fill it in as we do it. Please. Yeah, please link it. Yeah, that's bizarre. So should this promise be ongoing and always on, or only active during periods of crisis? Not even like I don't think it should be always. I don't think we should be doing it at all. It's just it's a leading question because you can't even say no. Okay, all right, sure. Question 6. Do you feel I guess they yeah, they need to reevaluate this question because that's the basis for these follow-up questions. But here they say if the government gives prominence to trustworthy providers of news, media making, yeah, like they need to reword this. Do you feel individual users should be given an option in whether prominence measures for trustworthy news content are switched on or off for them? Yes, users should be given an option in whether prominence measures are switched on or off. Yes, obviously. No, users should not be given an option. Fucking hell, imagine. Media literacy, duty, and joint venture. This is good. How concerned, if at all, are you about the impact of misleading or unreliable information on society? Yeah, to be honest, I'm at least somewhat concerned, maybe very concerned. How concerned, if at all, are you about the impact of misleading or unreliable information on democracy? A little, I guess. Public service media refers to organizations such as the BBC, ITV, S4, Channel 4, and S4C. Okay, so we're actually getting on to PSMs now. Which of the following statement, even though the trustworthy above was in relation to PSMs? It took me a minute, but YouTube just ate the link. Can you DM it to me on Discord? My DMs are open. I'm offline right now, but if you're on the Discord, Stirher, you can just DM it to me directly. I'll just make sure my Do Not Disturb is on real quick, and then I can check it in a sec. Yeah, like once you've sent it, just ping me and let me know. Okay, cool. Right, okay. We can go through the rest of the questions together, though. Which of the following statements most closely reflects your view on the role of public service media in helping people critically engage with news and other information they encounter online or offline? Okay. Public service media has a role in supporting critical engagement, is currently doing enough. Public service media has a role in supporting critical engagement and should do more. Public service media does not have a role in supporting critical engagement. Public service media is currently doing too much to support critical engagement and should do less. Not sure. I guess this question is like, do you think that it's supporting, actually questioning things? Which I think it should, but the very nature of it being neutral though means that it also maybe shouldn't? Question mark? I don't know. The bot ate the link. Oh, okay, hang on. I can still see it, I think. Oh, dude, we have it. Dude, we have it. Okay, you know what? I'll link this. Let's go through the questions together, and then I will fill it in afterwards. But yeah, we're halfway through, so let's go through the questions here. Because I do also think as well that the government, like, it feels a little bit like they're gonna try and like misinterpret the things that you're saying. Like, for example, if we look here at what was it? Question 1 or question 2? Oh, yeah, about the trustworthy news sources. Where was it? Yeah. Do you believe trustworthy news content should be more visible on social media? Well, yeah, like the more trustworthy the news source is, it probably should come up towards the top of your feed. I do believe that. But then the question is like, what is trustworthy? But also, what is commentary? Like, does this mean that the political commentary channels will get pushed down because trustworthy news is getting pushed up? I mean, yeah, it would have to. And does that innately mean that anything that isn't PSM isn't trustworthy? Question. Judge, how important, if at all, do you think it is for people to be able to judge the accuracy and reliability of information they encounter, for example, online? Very important. How valuable, if at all, do you believe collaboration between public service media, civil society organizations, for example, charities and education groups, and the media sector could be in supporting people to critically assess information? Yeah, like that's obviously really important, right? Which of the following models, if any, do you consider most effective for further media sector collaboration in this area? Informal coordination and sharing of learning, a structured forum with agreed objectives and reporting, joint delivery of public-facing initiatives, no additional collaboration. I mean, honestly, they could just do everything. Why not formal? Why not a formal coordination and sharing of learning? Is that the formal option? And this is the formal option? I don't see why you can't do all of them. Opinion pieces are a large part of journalism, so why would they be shoved at the bottom? Exactly. It's a good question. It's a good question, buddy. Please provide any supporting evidence as to why you think the models you selected are effective collaboration between public service media and the media sector. Well, it's not necessarily just these ones. I think you should be doing everything within your power to collaborate, because the public service media is losing relevance fast. And and that's the whole reason we're here. Chapter 3.1 of the Green Paper outlines the government's preference for IPTV 2033. The following question 6. Okay, right. To what extent do you agree or disagree with the government's assessment of the case for changing relating to the future of digital terrestrial television? Strongly agree. Audience should definitely adopt internet protocol television and similar technologies. Audience should adopt. Yeah, like I think if people really want to stay on traditional television, then they can. But like I do agree, people should probably move on. It's up to individuals though what they want to do. But if the UK government withdrew support for, what is it, DTT? DDT? Yeah, DTT. Then I wouldn't be upset about it. But it's, it's up to them. Is there a who cares? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, please provide a further rationale for your answer and any relevant evidence. The Green Paper outlines 2 timing options for a digital terrestrial television switch off. These are 31st December 2034 and 30th December 2024. Which option do you prefer as a timing? No strong opinion. Like, I don't use it, so shrug. Please provide further rationale for your answer. Do you have any evidence that another time frame is preferable to the one specified in this consultation? If so, please provide further details for industry organizations only. To deliver an IPTV transition would require collaborative working with audience groups, industry, and cross-government. Please outline your organization's commitment to supporting this work. Okay. To what extent do you agree or disagree that the challenges identified in the Green Paper, delivering for all audiences, maintaining reliable television service, promoting competition and innovation in the television industry, really, and supporting a sustainable future for PSM providers, capture all of the considerations when making a decision on whether and how best to support audiences to adopt IPTV and similar technologies? Strongly agree. The challenges comprehensively capture all of the considerations when making a decision. The challenges identified. I don't think the challenges identified are wrong. I understand the challenges. I think the challenges are accurate. However, like the way and means that you're going about it is not the correct way to go. Survey so rigged. Yeah, exactly. It's like it's not like it's not providing any avenue for you to be like, actually, I think this is wrong. Like, especially like question 4 was like, oh yeah, do you think that you should have trustworthy news sources? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we're going to show that to YouTube. Don't worry about it. Anyway. Question 16a, further rationale. Okay. In your opinion, which, if any, of the challenges are most important to you? Please rank in order of the importance. Oh, okay. Right. Okay. So you rank the different challenges that have been identified. Okay. That's fine. It doesn't really feel relevant to like what we're talking about. In the event of an IPTV transition, which of the following, if any, do you think are the most important to ensure everyone can still access television from their own home? Please rank in order of the importance, where one is the most important to you. Low-cost broadband, subsidized broadband, discounted internet-capable television sets, simple devices connect to older television sets to connect to the internet. I don't care. Like, yeah, like this feels like a you problem for turning off the DTT. What are the likely environmental impacts associated with a 2034 transition and a 2044 DTT switch off transition to IPTV? Again, like this, who cares? I mean, from a green perspective, maybe it's better. I don't know. Please include any available data, modeling, or research that could inform the government's assessment of environmental impacts. Is there anything else you would like to add regarding the future of TV distribution? No, okay. Future of TV regulation. Chapter 3.2 sets out some of the challenges regarding the future of TV regulation, such as which TV-like services should be regulated going forward and to what standard. Is there any information or comment you would like to provide in relation to the future of TV regulation? Where was this open question at the top? Was there an open question at the top, like a 1 or 2? We're not going to do the survey as much as voting against it. Yeah, I like also like it doesn't even feel like there's that much to do. Um, I feel like honestly, I need to write something that can just go in here. What are your overall thoughts on the future of television relating to the topics in this green paper? Yeah, so like basically respond to the summarization of this document with something that goes in here. Market and audience context. What measures do you feel would be most effective for the government to take to overall address these challenges? Yeah. Okay. So again, like we could write something specific that could go in here that's along the lines of, okay, so I feel like you should consider like how you can draw more people into PSM naturally as opposed to force feeding it to them, because over time that force feeding is just going to come up as it like and this is hopefully probably, to be honest, what will happen. Like there is obviously a huge risk to smaller content creators, but like essentially they might just appear in the same way as sponsored links do on YouTube. You know, when you get a sponsored ad on YouTube and you're scrolling through like your YouTube feed like on your phone or something, like, and you might just end up treating PSM content in the same way. It'll be sponsored and it will be flagged and it will be on your feed when you open your phone or you open your YouTube homepage, and you just scroll straight past it. And I think, to be honest, pointing that out might be important to them here and being like, look, if you actually do get prominence from algorithmic feeds, it's not going to help. But yeah, okay, so there are open questions towards the top for us to provide feedback. But yeah, down here, the prominence of PSM content in the platform age. Okay, how easy or difficult is it to find culturally relevant content on video platforms, including video sharing platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and streaming platforms like Netflix and Amazon Prime Video? Examples of culturally relevant content could include stories set in Britain with British presenters, representing British values, or referencing British events or customs. Okay, sure. I have no issues in finding culturally relevant content on these platforms. I mean, to be honest, like, I guess, like, I don't even try. Like, why do I even need to, like, why would I even try? I don't, yeah, like, why would I even try? Like, if I wanted to watch something British, like, if there was a new episode of Luther, I'd watch it on BBC iPlayer. Like, I don't, like, I don't know, man. Like, what even is this? If you think YouTube tells you more trust than local news stations or even BBC or anything, you're legit fucking lost. Unruly Shifu, yeah, this is it. Sorry, buddy. I guess you're just gonna be gone forever now. It's a sad time, but it is what it is. No, Unruly Shifu, you're you're off the goop, mate. YouTube now allows like individuals to share their thoughts and opinions on things. which is not something that the BBC will allow because it has to remain impartial. But the problem is remaining impartial means that sometimes they'll do things for the greater good, like not reporting on specific stories. And if only that content is being pushed into your feed, this is where we have a problem. He's gone. If I want to watch something British, I just turn on ALG streams. Yeah. Yeah, YouTube is just a medium. Exactly, Resh. Yeah, YouTube is just a medium, except it's open for anyone to post on, which means that you do have to be careful because there will be people who are not being entirely truthful on there. But you know, you can also corroborate multiple news sources if you are looking into a news story. Anyway. Okay, cool. Yeah, I guess, like, sure. Like, if I was looking for culturally relevant content, I could find it very easily. Like, if I was looking for BBC sport coverage of the World Cup, I could just type in BBC sport coverage of the World. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have no issue finding it. If I am looking for it, I have no issue finding it. Prominence can be defined as giving certain content a privileged position, for example, ensuring a specific channel appears at the top of search results or features on a recommendation feed within a user interface so it's easy for audiences to find and watch. Okay, this is actually the question. To what extent do you agree or disagree that content from public service media providers should be easier to find on video platforms? Yeah, what does it say here? It should definitely be easier to find public service media content on these platforms. It should definitely not be easier to find public service media on these platforms. They're saying it as if it's like an ease of find and not an algorithmic change, which is what YouTube are saying that it is. A lot of modern viewing is just people scrolling feeds. There are less and less people actually searching for specific things, at least according to Google Method. Yeah, that is true. Yeah. I don't like the UK trying to turn me into part of a hive mind. Real. What do you see as the benefits of content from public service media like the BBC and Channel 4 being easier to find on video platforms? The British media can control messaging better. That's not really a positive. Is there any option to say what negatives there are? Is there a 23B where it asks what questions? What types of content for public service media do you think should be easier to find on video platforms? Okay, so we're just making an assumption that you agreed up here. On which video platforms do you think content for public service media providers should be easier to find? It's just like the same question over and over again. My God, man. Because they can also say as well, like, if this is free type, right? If this is like a free type section, like, and people start typing like, oh, like they just type in different things. But it's literally, it doesn't even ask. Like, so here it's asking to what extent, and you say, I disagree. What do you see as the benefits? It's not asking what do you see as the drawbacks. It's not asking what do you see as the drawbacks. It's just moving straight on. Because then what it wants to do is it wants to use this information from here to present back and say, oh, look, here are the people are all, they're all saying that these are the benefits. Because if we went through this form and we filled this in now, like we would fill in the information here and then we'd be like, what would be the benefits? And I'd be like, well, there are potentially some benefits to it because like the UK government would have more control over certain things. I guess there would be less focus on like drama and more focus on political content that potentially serves the people slightly better because, you know, do you know what I mean? Like you can make the argument for it. That's not a benefit. I do agree. But I guess what I'm saying is that like without any option to add drawbacks, like even the people who strongly disagree with this will maybe write like, oh, look, I can understand that it might be okay in these circumstances. And then because they're not even asking about the drawbacks, they're just going to present that information back. Insane. What types of content for publishers? Yeah, okay, we went through that. Which video platforms? Okay, yeah, we went through that. Do you regularly create video content and upload it to video sharing platforms? Yes, I do. As a content creator or someone who uploads content to video sharing platforms, are there additional changes or features you would want video sharing platforms to offer? For example, to increase the visibility of your content, transparency of systems, or to make content more discoverable? I'd be like, every content creator would like their video to get more views, but that's just not the way it works. It works on like a meritocracy, right? Like, the more views you get, the more clicks you get, the more people are more likely to watch your content. And the more likely that content is to get pushed. I don't think messing with that system is the right thing to do at all. Meritocracy and luck. True. You're right. It's both. Yes, I would love to force YouTube to push my videos. Yeah, exactly. And that's what we want. They want that information. They want me to say that. So then they can be like, look, see, even content creators agree that this is a good idea. Oh, God. Okay, right. Thinking about the video sharing platforms you upload and share content on, do you have sufficient awareness of how content is shown to viewers through the algorithms? Yeah, I have some awareness of how the algorithm works. I don't think anyone really fully knows exactly how the algorithm works. I feel like talking about the algorithm is like, it's so dumb anyway. Like, the audience decides what's good content, right? The audience chooses whether or not they want to watch something. The algorithm could show them a bunch of shit, but if the audience don't click it, the algorithm, like the feed, will stop showing that content because it recognizes that it is shit. And YouTube's getting pretty good at that. So I don't know. Like, I do YouTube for a job. I understand how it works mostly, but yeah. Anyway, a new system of public service media for television. Which of the following, if any, and I guess the problem with this, right, is that, like, if my understanding of the way the algorithm works there, I just explained it to you, like, all content gets some level of push, right? The more that people have shown interest in your prior content, the more your content gets pushed out to that same audience. For example, if I upload a video now that's not about ZZZ and is in fact about UK politics, hello YouTube, by the way, like, it doesn't get pushed it barely gets pushed at all, because there's not that much crossover in the audience, right? But if I upload a shit video, if I upload a video that doesn't perform particularly well because people click it and then they click off in the first couple of minutes because it's not what they thought it was, it's kind of clickbaity. If it doesn't answer the questions that it sets out in the thumbnail and the title, then what happens is, algorithmically, that then no longer gets pushed. That's the way that content works. So you might still get a few hundred, a few thousand views on that content, but then because it doesn't actually answer the information, it doesn't actually provide the information within that video, or, you know, it's just a shit video basically, then YouTube stops showing it to people. And I guess the question is that, like, if the algorithm is amended for PSMs, and so that PSMs constantly have that priority slot, then it just completely changes the way the algorithm works overall. Put Remy on the thumbnail, full clickbait. I mean, it always works. A new system of public service media for television. Which of the following, if any, attributes of public service media content do you value the most? Select up to your top 3. Diverse programming, content that features people like me and people from different backgrounds. Quality news, regional coverage, quality content, non-news, programs that are high quality, okay. Range, different types of programs, tailored to UK audiences, shared viewing opportunities, national cohesion. None of the above, not sure. Okay, so yeah, all right, sure. I guess this is useful for them so they understand what they should be focusing on. But yeah, I hate the survey is so rigged that there's nothing there for us to go against the UK trying to force YouTube to do what they want. It does feel a bit like that, I'll be honest. Chapter 4.2 of the Green Paper outlines the challenges public service media faces and how the system tied to broadcast licenses is relatively inflexible. The chapter suggests this limits the options for benefits and obligations Ofcom can place on public service media providers and makes it harder to open up the system to new providers. It is argued this risks the sustainability of the system as audiences move away from live broadcast TVs to switch between linear, on-demand, and user-generated content on multiple devices. That's just the way that people are consuming content now. It has changed. It is no longer like traditional broadcast television. To what extent you agree or disagree with the suggestion that the public service media system needs to be reformed in a way away from the current model that uses broadcast licenses? Absolutely. Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. The Green Paper outlines 4 potential principles of the public service media system: universality, to ensure the public service content remains universally available, free of charge, which is not. Public service content, to ensure the provision of a wide range of high-quality, distinctive public service content, okay. Systemic sustainability, to ensure the public system of public service media has a mix of providers to ensure its resilience to deliver public service media objectives in the long term. So this is like money, right? It needs to generate enough income. It should also be sufficiently flexible to potential shifts of the current collection of PSM providers. Oh, no, wait. Is that not money? This is money. So many corporate buzzwords. To ensure to receive a proportionate to the obligations they must deliver PSM status so they're attractive and commercially sustainable. Commercially sustainable. To what extent do you agree or disagree that each of the following should be considered by government as principles of the public service media system? Universality, yes, yes. I mean, this shouldn't be an issue. Yeah. Like the commercial sustainability, like, isn't that the whole point of having public service media? Is that it's free, it's covered governmentally. Imagine if channels just released a show worth fucking watching instead of trying to cheat their way back into the modern era. It does feel like that, yeah. It does feel like that. Sorry, I got hairs on my microphone. I've clearly been flipping out over the top of it. The Green Paper outlines 3 illustrative models. A focus model on PSM institutions that would see institutions such as broadcasters or streamers designated as PSM institutions. A model focused on PSM services would allow specific services to receive PSM designation if they were to meet agreed requirements. And then a content-centric approach would determine whether something is public service content subject to an agreed definition. Please rank in order your preferred model. I don't care. I feel like this is up to you to figure out. Like, it doesn't really, like, I feel like it doesn't matter. Do you have any further comments you'd like to add to your content? Yeah, no. This is up to you to figure out, I think. I feel like they're out of options, and now they're just trying to get the word from the people as to what they think they should do, because they don't know what to do anymore. There is a duty on public authorities to consider how their policies and decisions affect people with protected characteristics under the Equality Act 2010. Do you have any evidence of the equality's impacts on the proposed? Yeah, no. Annexes, future of TV distributions. There are annexes here. I feel like we've made it through the actual content, though. Holy shit. Yeah, and I feel like some of the questions are like, we don't know what to do anymore. I feel like the answer to some of their questions is, guys, we don't know what to do anymore. We're not sure how to handle this now. So yeah, can you guys can you give me ideas for how we should do this? It's like a gacha company trying to test the boundaries of what they can do. Except the thing is it feels like they've been trying some stuff, but it's not working, and it's not working in the way that they wanted to. So now they're kind of just they're just going a little bit mad, and they're trying to like push the boundaries a little bit, I think. All they know is they want to control the media. Maybe. Look, like, I think, honestly, hear me out here. I think this comes from a good place. This starts from a good place. And that good place is, okay, so traditional news media outlets that are meant to be impartial algorithmically get pushed down, because the algorithm, the way that we are served content, you're more likely to click on something that is more inflammatory than something that is more neutral. That's just the way that human nature works, and that's just the way that like your feeds work on social media channels like YouTube, TikTok, and stuff like that. So like it comes from a good place of trying to have that impartial, neutral content floating to the top. The problem is that it feels like they're bundling in with that, like the impartial, neutral content floating to the top, like the fact that it's our fault that financially these institutions, these PSMs, are failing. And on top of that, like if these news institutions get floated to the top, the people who actually do have valid opinions about these things get pushed to the bottom. And that means that like PSMs continue, PSMs, who have been like phased out, to be honest, of some people's like media lives, as in they don't want to watch them anymore. Like they will then be like given prominence, and the political commentary channels will fade down the list somewhere. It's pretty fucked up. I don't know. You're being far too generous. They want control. This does not come from a good place. Yeah, okay, so that's the positive read of it, okay? Which is still problematic for content creators, massively. But that's the positive read on it. But yeah, the bad read on it is, well, this also means that if things happen from like a political perspective inside of the UK, then if PSMs like the BBC and ITV don't report on those things, they don't have to be impartial about them or, you know, anything like that. They could just not report on them. And the individuals who make that political commentary content maybe just either never get the news because it's not published anywhere, or that news kind of gets squashed in favor of PSM content just being pushed to the top of all of the algorithmic feeds. Is PSM public service media? Yeah, so it's like traditional media. So like the BBC, ITV, Channel 4. But yeah, a lot of it comes back to financial. Yeah. Hang on. How many times did they mention financial? Here we go. The environment puts significant financial strain on our domestic public service media providers. So basically, because they're not getting, yeah, and again, like because they're staying neutral, or they're trying to stay neutral or impartial, like, and that means that they're, you know, from like an algorithmic feed perspective, they don't get the same level of push as other thing, you know, like potentially more inflammatory content. They're not pulling numbers on the new way that people are consuming media, and their advertising and license fee revenues are declining because people don't care anymore. They're starting to consume media in new ways, while competition for high-end content is intense. It is, as it should be. While our domestic production sector is globally successful, it faces pressure from rising costs and challenges retaining intellectual property, shifting commercial value overseas. We support the sector to diversify funding. Yeah, so basically, it is also a little bit of, well, if people are going to start consuming content more and more on platforms like YouTube, then we need some level of prominence for our PSMs, which actually just means that the PSMs should have got in sooner, and they should have gone harder on you know, on algorithmic feeds like YouTube, and now they're trying to fix that by legislating that YouTube has to show it. And also, should this go through, it will affect, like, it's like it will have like a global effect. Surely it doesn't go through. Okay, you are now an ad. Yeah. But anyway, that's how long was that? Like 2.5 hours of crashing out? Fuck. Is this good or bad? I think if I'm completely honest, I think it, like, and I know that lots of people are saying that this is bad. I agree. I think it's very, very bad. I think this is bad. But I think it actually starts from a good place. And I see how it starts from a good place. But how bad this could be is actually like kind of insane, and therefore it's not something that we should be pushing back on this. Please play the Remiel gift to cheer us up. Yeah, here we go. I agree. Yeah, I think it comes from the fact of like, oh, okay, like the neutral news channels, like that doesn't really work with the way that people consume content. So we need to fix that. We need to mix it up, and they do need to mix it up. And what they could do is they could actually host debates and stuff from like both sides of an argument. And then they could actually lean into that inflammatory side of like content, I guess, which would bring PSMs into more relevance. They could also collaborate with YouTube, with Netflix, and potentially do live events for like Prime Minister's questions and stuff instead of just airing it on BBC. Like there's a lot of different things that they could do that would allow like a wider, more global reach for like British content. But I guess I don't know, man. I don't know what the right answer is. The issue is that people don't trust PSMs anymore, and that's why lots of people are watching more free media nowadays. And again, and I think that's like people are entitled to make their own choices, and people are entitled to distrust certain things, especially when you get like different news from different sources. It's okay to be like, okay, well, I don't really know what's happening here. Like, yeah. They couldn't because they don't believe in open debate and general free speech. Dude, it is sad. It's a sad time. But yeah, I guess like people watched the BBC and ITV when there was nothing else to watch, and now we have the internet, and the BBC and the ITV are panicking. Like that's honestly what this is. Anyway, we went through it. I'm gonna go and fill in the survey. I'm gonna go have some lunch, and I'm gonna actually fill in the survey. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap up here. I felt like this was more fun than me crashing out on my own, honestly. But it's been good. If you guys want the link to the survey, it is here. I'm gonna send it on both YouTube and Twitch chat. Imagine a large corporate news outlet having to do the grind like a regular CC. I mean I mean like they have to think about like how are they being perceived, I guess. I don't know. Like I don't know what the answers are for how they fix themselves, but I know that the answer isn't we need to push down anything that isn't PSM. Like that's not the answer. Anyway, to be fair, the surveys are too rig. It is, but we got to do what we can do. Like there are some free type sections. We can type in there that we think that the direction that they're heading for trying to fix this problem is damaging to creators, is damaging to free speech, is damaging to choice. I guess you still have the choice to scroll past this stuff, but how does that affect the general populace? Anyway. This is just the UK, right? Well, it only affects like UK-based news right now, but like if you think that this isn't going to open the floodgates for other countries to do the same thing, you'd be crazy. Anyway, I'm going to just turn off the stream. I have no idea who to raid after talking about this for like 2.5 hours, so I don't really want to send this mess anywhere else. I know I normally like raid someone, but I maybe let's not. Oh, you know what? Let's raid on Twitch. Smugslav is live. He's playing Elden Ring. That sounds fun. Can you please be nice to Smugslav? Let's raid him and talk about Elden Ring. Don't talk about politics, okay? But I'm going to turn YouTube off now, and then I'll see you all maybe tonight, but probably not. Probably tomorrow, but I'll catch you all later. Bye, 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 bye.